Good morning, everybody. Hello, can I get your attention? We're getting ready to start, but I was asked to open us up in prayer this morning.
May I have quiet, please?
Is it up? There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. We're gonna just take a moment and open up in prayer, and in everything we ask that we get understanding. And so today is a time for us to get understanding of what has happened with the water system today. So we're praying for cool minds and that we are able to move forward according to the will of God. So let us pray this morning.
Please, quiet.
Amen. Let us pray. Father God, we come before your throne of grace, humbly as we know how, Father, asking that even as we transact the information that is about to be received by us, even in the midst of our chaos today, we ask that you would be the ruler to rule and super rule in the affairs of men this morning. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you and pray for this leadership as we move forward, as we continue to try to get understanding and to move towards solutions. Father, we ask that we continue in the grace that you have called us to this morning. And even though we understand that we've been inconvenienced, we'd like to take inconvenience and make it an inconvenience, a convenience this morning. So, Father, we ask that you be with us in this meeting this morning, that we don't do the finger pointing, that we understand that it's happened. Now, how do we move to solutions, and how do we let cool heads prevail this morning? Father, we ask, and according to your grace and your mercy and your many blessings that have been bestowed upon us from heaven on high, that you be with us. Bless this leadership. Pray for this leadership as they start this new journey. Father, we thank you in your Son Jesus' name, and let every heart say, amen.
This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams. Trustee Brooks.
Present.
Trustee Jenkins Bell. Trustee Franklin.
Present.
Trustee Bolden.
Here.
Trustee McMullen.
Present.
And Mayor Rudez.
Here. Trustee Brooks.
You got that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we suspend our rules to the general comments, which is normally 30 minutes limited, if I can get a second.
Motion by Trustee Brooks to suspend the rules. Second by Trustee Jenkins. Madam Clerk, roll call.
I'm sorry.
Trustee Williams.
Trustee Williams.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Votes aye.
Trustee Bell.
Votes aye.
Trustee Franklin.
Both sides.
Trustee Bolden.
Aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Both sides.
And Mayor Rudez.
Votes aye. So before we get started, we're going to have a presentation by Aqua. Then after the presentation, we'll have questions and answers from the audience. But before we get started, I'd like to make just little talking points for today's meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank them for coming. This has been a difficult week for all of us here in the village. We are all frustrated and anxious about the situation. I want to assure all the residents that my administration and I have been working diligently to make sure that everything that could be done is being done to rectify the water crisis. I have asked the representatives of Aqua to be here to explain what happened, what they are doing to remedy the situation, and where we go from here. There are several things I have asked of the company on behalf of the residents. One, we asked them to be vigilant in getting water to everyone affected. We asked them to get filters to all those affected. We asked them for an information center here from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. to give our residents first-hand and up-to-date information. We have requested that they provide residents with lead testing kits, smart alerts. We have asked them to hire a minority firm independent of their vendors to test the water and compare our results with theirs. We have asked them to test the village facilities which have been cleared, so those facilities, including our water tank, are no longer part of the Do Not Consume advisory. We have asked for and are being provided with daily updates. We have asked that they allow village representatives to participate in discussions with the IEPA and the ICC. With the passage and approval of the emergency declaration, staff is in contact with the Weld County Health Department to see if they can offer assistance and is prepared to seek assistance from other state and federal agencies if necessary. For the record, my home is still affected, so I feel the pain the residents feel. This is no time for politics. We are one family, one community, and our main focus has to be the health, welfare, and safety of our residents. This is a time to unite our community and help and assist all of our neighbors. Your elected officials are speaking in one voice because we understand the importance of this issue. I hear that there has been false and misinformation spread throughout our community, which is why we are holding this emergency meeting to assist us in providing our community with the correct and update information. I can only ask that you attend the meetings so you can hear for yourself the facts and the most current information. I want to thank the trustees, our clerk, and the entire administration for their help and support. So I want to set the record straight and be sure everyone knows the facts as they currently stand. My administration is doing all we can to get accurate information to everyone, and if there is something more we can do, please let us know. We are open to suggestions. I have invited representatives from Congresswoman Kelly's office to be here as well as other elected officials. I have received calls from neighboring mayors offering their support to our community. I want to thank them for their help. And at this time, I'd like to invite the spokesperson from Aqua to come forward and give their presentation. I am requesting complete decorum from everyone. Please respect those who are coming to the podium. I will ask all of you to please silence your phone and give full attention to this matter so we can all be better informed about this issue.
Mayor, would you like me to do it here or go to the podium this way?
Go to the podium, please. Do you need the lights, Craig?
No, I'll be fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. You can hear me good?
Would you want to maybe turn around to the audience? Or maybe just sit the podium to that side? Yeah, at an angle so everyone can see.
Can I put it over here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'll move it. So you have to move it. I got it. Is that right here?
That's good, yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Craig Blanchett. I'm the president of Aqua, Illinois, and I'd like to thank Mayor Rudez and the village board for inviting us to speak here this morning. So thank you. We're very much looking forward to updating the board and the residents of University Park about our progress. I'm going to explain how we got here and what our plan is to restore safe drinking water to the residents of University Park, many of which are here today. I'd first like to start by offering our sincere apology to the residents of University Park for the understandable concern this event has created, as well as the inconvenience this has caused for each and every one of you. The safety of our customers has been and will continue to be our top priority. Aqua Illinois will continue to operate with complete transparency and open communication until this issue is resolved. We are trying to minimize the inconvenience to our customers to every extent possible, as the mayor explained. We're trying to be open, transparent. I personally have been here on the ground with my entire management team. We have people from all across the United States here from Aqua helping to alleviate burden on our customers. And we've been on the ground since last Friday when the high level of lead were discovered, and actually Thursday. My team have talked to many of you personally, both out in the field and here in the info center, and we've heard your voice loud and clear. You're frustrated, scared, and angry, and you have my commitment that we work very hard every day to regain your trust and deliver the high-quality water that Aqua is known for and that you deserve. Now, today I have Dr. Christopher Crockett with me, who is Aqua's Vice President and Chief Environmental Officer, and he's going to talk about how the lead was discovered, as well as our plan to correct it. I also have Dr. J. Keith Tolson, PhD, and he's a toxicologist with Geosyntec Consultants. He's going to be here today to talk about the impacts of lead exposure. My goal today is to be fully transparent and explain how we got here, our plan to fix it.
Craig, speak to the mic a little bit.
And what Aqua intends to do to put residents' minds at ease. On June 13th, after receiving test results that showed concerning elevated levels of lead found in 15 of the 36 sampled properties in University Park, we took unprecedented action to issue a do not consume advisory for the entire University Park, Green Garden, and Money Township water system. Our team treats water systems that we operate as if our families drink it, bathe in it, and swim in it, because we do. We ourselves are customers of Aqua, just like you. Aqua Illinois' goal throughout this process has been to operate with complete transparency with regulators, elected officials, and most importantly, the community. And while the information might not be coming as quickly as many would like, and sometimes as fast as I would like, it's important that we only provide fact-based information to avoid confusion and misinformation from circulating. We are in a highly regulated industry, and there are a lot of variables at play, so I wish we could have provided more information earlier, but again, we thought it the most important to share only fact-based information. I want to make this point clear. Your voice is heard, and we're going to resolve this issue as soon as we can. Now I'd like to provide you with a little bit of background information. If we go back to 2016, many of you might remember residents had concerns due to high water hardness and discoloration caused by high levels of iron in the water. At that time, we began plans to transition University Park from well water to softened and filtered water from the Kankakee River. Before the transition, we began a new treatment process widely known to remove iron and rust, but also protect against lead. We documented and submitted the new treatment process to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, IEPA, and we were able to transition the water supply from well water to Kankakee River water in January of 2018. 8 months later, when conducting IEPA-mandated lead testing, some results showed slightly increased levels of lead. However, they still met the IEPA requirements. The treatment appeared to be working. There were very little complaints from discoloration, and the water was safe to consume for our customers. When we received the results on the next round, IEPA mandated, and that was on June 13th, 2019, we were surprised to find that the 15 of 36 had tested with high levels of lead above the EPA action level criteria. As an extreme precaution, as I'd mentioned earlier, we issued the do not consume advisory for the entire water system, including all of University Park, Green Garden, and Money townships. Now, over the past week, we've done an intensive, rigorous testing of our system and the properties throughout the community. We're able to confirm that our water treatment facility, water mains, service lines, and the source water coming to University Park do not contain lead. However, we have discovered that the treatment process implemented before we even switched water supplies over time has impacted the protective layer that existed inside the pipes of customers' homes, the solder connections, and inside fixtures inside customer homes, allowing lead to potentially dissolve into the water. Most of the properties already removed from the do not consume order are properties constructed after 1986, the year that lead solder was banned by the US EPA. Those properties built after 1986 do not have lead within their internal plumbing system. Properties built before 1986 many of which still remain under the Do Not Consume advisory, include the majority of the homes in the University Park downtown section. Those homes may now lack the protective coating within their plumbing system, allowing lead to dissolve into the water. Now, Dr. Crockett is our technical expert, and he's going to elaborate more in a few minutes, but I want the public to be assured that this is not an issue with Aqua's service line or its water supply. Now, for those of you who have homes that have not been taken off, or for those of you that have homes that have been taken off the Do Not Consume advisory, your water never did have lead. Your water never had elevated levels of lead in your home because you don't have lead in your home. For those of you whose homes are still under the Do Not Consume advisory, we are still working to assess if your water is safe to drink. It may be a few weeks until we know for certain that you can safely consume your tap water unfiltered. In the meantime, we fully intend to continue alleviating the burden on you and your families as much as humanly possible. And here's how. We've delivered more than 15,000 cases of bottled water to your homes and businesses, and will continue to make sure that you have safe water until this is resolved. We have delivered or attempted to deliver water pitchers with lead filters to every home in the impacted area, and we have them here today for those who missed the delivery. These filters remove 99% of the lead. We are offering free water testing to anyone who wants it. You can pick up the testing kits here today and bring it back to the information center back here for the actual testing. It's done by an independent lab, and we're actually using 2 separate independent labs for the testing results. And you can also call us to pick up the samples, or you go to our website or call us, and we'll make it as convenient as we possibly can for you. We launched a project website, as the mayor indicated, called waterfactsil.com, where you can sign up for email alerts and get the most up-to-date information. And we started a WaterFactsIL Facebook page and have been running paid advertisements to reach all impacted customers. We've also hired a street team to be out in the public and do door-to-door flyers, as well as deliver water to customers, and they've been out 6 different times delivering water and flyers. And we are extending the information center to July 1st to ensure that residents get all the access and information or services Aqua is providing related to this event. Now, we met with the mayor several times and also recently shared information with the board members. And the mayor's made it crystal clear that he expects Aqua to do everything in its power to protect the residents of University Park and restore safe drinking water as soon as possible. He also relayed some of the community's concerns, and we've worked with the mayor to offer a few solutions to help lessen the impact we know this has caused and restore confidence in your water service. First, if you are ever under the Do Not Consume advisory, whether you're on it now or not, your water and sewer charges for the month of June will be 0, both for water and sewer service. I know this is not going to make up for the concerns that you have and the inconvenience this has caused, but I believe it's important to make every effort to alleviate any burden on our customers. Second, Aqua will provide the village with testing results for the biannual lead testing that is required by the Illinois EPA. This information is already available on the EPA's website, but we will make sure that University Park leadership and community members have this information going forward. Moving forward, I hope this will help us to regain your confidence. Several in the community, as I walk the community, delivering water and working with our team, have expressed concerns for the safety of the University Park residents, concerns that I share. We understand, and we have always made the health and well-being of our customers our #1 priority. Based on your feedback, Aqua is offering today not only the free lead testing for your drinking water, but Aqua will provide free lead blood testing to all residents within the impacted areas. We will also provide free lead testing for your homes. As you probably know, lead can be found in all parts of your environment, the air, the soil, children's toys, and paint in your home. In an effort to live up to our promise of putting your safety first, we are offering this service to residents of University Park, Green Garden, and Monee Townships. And we have a table set up in the corner where you can get more information. And Chris Lunning, he's way back, he's the guy holding up the paper back there, and Donna Alston will be happy after the meeting, they'll stay here as long as you want, to get you some information that you can take with you to find out how do you obtain that testing. And I hope that this demonstrates, in some small way, our commitment that we've taken your feedback very seriously, and we promise to work hard every day to restore the trust and bring you the safe drinking water that we promised and that you deserve. We are now going to further explain how this happened, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Crockett to talk more about the technical nature of the elevated water levels. Dr. Crockett is a PhD in environmental engineering and is a licensed professional civil engineer. He has 24 years working in the water industry, and he previously served as the Deputy Water Commissioner for the City of Philadelphia. And he's an adjunct engineering professor at Drexel University. Dr. Crockett, would you please come up? Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, trustees. Good morning, community of University Park. Could we please switch to the next slide, please? So, I want to make sure you can see it. So before we get started into all this, I want to make sure that everybody is aware of how water is delivered to their home and the pieces that are involved in delivering that water to your home. On the picture here, you're going to see that the water comes from a source, whether it's a river or well, is treated and then pumped in pipes we call water mains in the streets of your neighborhood. And then from those pipes in the streets, there's a pipe called a supply line or a service line that goes from the street into your home at the meter. From the meter, then your home plumbing takes over and it's delivered to your faucet or sink or any other fixture you have in your home. One thing I want to point out is where we believe the lead is in those circled areas where the lead solder is located in homes that are built prior to 1986. Next slide, please. Lead was used to join copper pipes together. It's lead and tin. It's a mixture of lead and tin, and it was in something called lead solder that was commonly used to glue the pipes together when you had copper piping and plumbing in homes. If you live in a house that is built before 1986, you probably have lead solder in your plumbing in your home. Unless it was renovated where they basically replaced all the plumbing. And there are some homes in this community that we have found that have had that occur. If you live in a home built after 1986, it is probable that you do not have lead solder in your plumbing, and the only lead that you may have is from some kind of fixture that includes brass. Next slide. So this is a picture of what lead in the solder looks like. You're going to hear a lot of people talking about where the lead comes from. So on this picture, you're going to see the copper pipe, and you're going to see this silver ring where the pipes are joined together. That is what is soldered. Now what you're going to see in the bottom is looks like a silver wire sticking there. That's how they put the solder into the pipe. They heat the pipe up, and the solder melts and gets sucked into the pipe and makes the bond, and it dries. It's called sweating the pipe for people that do plumbing. This is a common technique that's used in joining copper pipe together. So if you see this, not every solder has lead in it. After 1986, it was banned. But it's hard to tell by looking at it if it's lead or copper. And there are kits you can get to check it to see if it's lead or not. Next slide, please. So I want to be crystal clear with everybody here where the lead is not coming from. where it's not coming from. It's not coming from the source, which is the Kankakee River. There is not lead there. It is not coming from the water treatment plant where we treat the water. It is not coming from the water mains. We've tested the hydrants and the water mains. There is no lead detected there. We do not have lead service lines in University Park. In fact, we've gone out to a couple homes, and I want to thank the customers that allowed that, so that we could even double confirm that it's copper piping in the street to the home. What we do know is that the lead is in other places. Please switch slides. And that lead is in the solder. So how does the lead in that solder, that silver stuff on the piping, get into your water? Well, water is a universal solvent, and what we mean by that is when you take water and you put sugar in it, it dissolves. The same thing happens with water and lead. Under certain chemistry conditions, when water comes in contact with lead, it will dissolve into the water, creating what we see today. In the case of this situation, in your situation, the water chemistry that we normally arrange to make sure that doesn't happen did not work as expected. Next slide, please. So what's happening here on that silver ring, that solder, if we looked inside the pipe, you would see that same silver ring. But what happens over time, when that was put in the 70s and maybe 80s, a film of material builds up over top of that lead. That coating creates a barrier between the water and the lead, preventing the lead from dissolving into the water. When chemistry is changed, and what happened in this case, the chemistry changed such that that layer of material or film was stripped away, allowing the lead to come in contact with the water, and that lead dissolved into the water. So let me explain how we're going to fix it. Next slide. But first I'm going to talk about what we've seen as results. Everyone's asking, what did we find? What's there? What did we find? So on the graph behind me, you're going to see a number of dates on the bottom. They go back to 2011 in the sampling that we've done as required. We're a heavily regulated industry. We're required to conduct sampling on a regular basis, or in this case, a biannual basis, for lead and copper in your drinking water. Now, that sampling, and some of you have gotten sample bottles, and you'll wonder why we ask you to wait overnight. What we want to know is the worst case scenario to be protective of your health. So we ask you to take the bottle and sit it by the sink overnight. Let the water sit in your pipes overnight for 6 to 8 hours so that the water gets, we call it stagnant. That allows for the worst case scenario for the lead to dissolve in that water. Then when you get up in the morning, you turn on the faucet and fill that bottle up immediately with whatever comes out of the tap. That gives us a worst case scenario of how much lead would have basically dissolved from the plumbing. We're also giving you another bottle, and that bottle is so that after you run the water 2 to 3 minutes, we can see what the lead level's about, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But on this graph behind me, you'll see the last 3 rounds, 2011, 2014, 2017, we passed the EPA criteria, which is based on a 90% of the samples that we collect have to have a concentration of 15 micrograms per liter or less. That is the IEPA standard. That is the EPA standard. In all those cases, we met those, including August of 2018. Now, in August of 2018, we did notice a couple homes appeared over the 15 part per billion action level, but we still met the IEPA criteria to make sure the water was safe. At that point, we started investigating just in case something was going on, and we brought in experts to look at that. In the samples in May and June of this year that we just got the results back preliminarily on Thursday, we then sampled those homes we then looked at those results, and only half of the samples were below the regulatory limit. There were another half of the samples that were above, and in fact, one sample at one home was as high, we just got the results back the other day, as high as 1,700 micrograms per liter. We want to make sure that you hear the numbers, but again, 50% of the samples were below the regulatory limit. Next slide, please. So I want to talk to you about what that means for you a little bit. This slide here, you're going to see two bars. The one on the left is a sample we went out to many of you. In fact, we've been out to about 350 customer homes working on getting samples, and we're still not done. And in the beginning of this, we would go to a home, and because some customers could not wait 6 to 8 hours to collect a sample, we would get an immediate sample right out of the tap. That allowed us to get a feel for what it would be like on an average day, instead of first thing in the morning, what you would see. And then we also ran the water for 2 to 3 minutes and looked at what those levels would be like. And what you'll see here is that nearly 85% of the samples, even just out of the tap when we went to someone's home on the first draw, were below that limit. And then when someone ran the water for 2 to 3 minutes, more than 95% of the samples were below that regulatory limit. Now, what did that tell us? It told us two things. One, it told us that flushing obviously lowers the levels of lead. But two, it helped us identify the source of the lead and confirm that it was the lead solder in the homes. So the next slide I want to go to, which is going to be what we need your help with and how you can help us resolve this situation and how we're going to fix it. Please, next slide. So already on Saturday, after talking to experts in IEPA, we instituted a new type of treatment using a chemical that's widely known to coat the pipes, get the coatings back on, to create that barrier between the lead and the water. That already started on Saturday. You'll notice us out flushing hydrants, opening up hydrants, doing that. The goal is to get that chemical throughout the community into the distribution system. But what we need your help with, and this is really important, is we need you to help us get that into your home to coat those pipes. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So what we need you to do, and again, you're not going to get billed for this, we need you to do a whole house flush. Turn on the cold water, make it clear, cold water, not hot water, cold water, at the lowest fixture in your home. Leave it on. Go to the next faucet and work your way up to the top of the home, if you have a two-story home, and go to every fixture or faucet, sink, and turn that cold water on. Let all of them run, all of them, for 30 minutes. That will make sure two things. One, that we get the new chemical into there to help start coating the pipe as soon as possible. And two, if there was anything in there, it would flush it out of your piping. So again, I'm going to repeat that. Lowest, start with cold water, lowest fixture or faucet in your house, working your way up to the top, leaving all of them on for 30 minutes, then go back to the lowest fixture or faucet, shut it off, and then go back to the rest and repeat. Now, another thing you can do, next slide please, is clean your aerator. Normally it's recommended you clean your aerator every 6 months. What's an aerator? Well, on the end of your faucet, you'll notice something with a little metal screen that makes the water kind of have air bubbles in when it comes out. If you can, it's best to unscrew that, take it out, and just like a coffee filter, clean off that screen, because that can trap particulates, rust, dirt, anything in there, and it can actually slow down the flow of the water coming out of your faucet. So if you have a slow faucet, it's something you might want to do anyways. We recommend you clean that out. So I want to turn this over now because we've shared the results. We've shared where we think the lead is coming from. I'd like to turn this over to President Blanchette so that we can talk about the next set of questions for your community.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'll just introduce our next person from here. I'd like to introduce next Dr. J. Keith Tolson, PhD, with a specialization in toxicology. And to tell you a little bit about him, Dr. Tolson is a toxicologist with Geosyntec Consultants. He is also a research associate with an adjunct professor at the University of Florida Department of Physiological Science. Now, Dr. Tolson is here to talk with us today about lead exposure and what that means to you. And he will not be able to address everyone's individual health questions. But when we get to the Q&A part later on, if folks could ask him questions of a general nature that everyone might benefit from, we'd really appreciate that. We also have some additional resources over here at the tables on lead from EPA in the packet that Chris and Donna have on the blood testing. So you can get that as well. So without further ado, Dr. Tolson, if you wouldn't mind to proceed.
Come on up to the podium, Doctor, please.
Mr. Mayor and Trustees, thank you very much. I was brought on to this matter last night and flew in today to be here with you guys. I don't have an existing relationship with Aqua, but they know from my experience on handling matters of toxicology, particularly of lead toxicology, that you guys would have questions, interests and concerns, of health concerns. And I'm really here on their dime for you guys. I know that there's questions and answers, but I'm willing to stay as long as necessary after this to answer any individual's question on what's going on. I don't have anything prepared. I can give you a quick snapshot sort of lead and what we know about it. We know a lot about it. Lead's been in, humans have been in contact with lead for eons. If you think about sort of lead exposure and concerns, it's actually one of the triumphs of environmental movements if you look at it over the course of the last few decades. A few decades ago, children's blood lead was much higher, in the 10, 15, 20 micrograms per deciliter in the blood. And we had leaded gasoline. The leaded gasoline was phased out, so all that airborne sort of lead exposure you can get, that went away. But the legacy of that lead and gasoline sort of remains. All the roadways that run through our neighborhood, that lead is deposited down on, and you can still get some exposure. So while it's been a success from a public health standpoint, it's a slow success. Back decades ago, the numbers were up in the 10s, 20s range. Now, the average lead concentration in children is below 1. So that is a success, because we believe that there is no safe dose of lead. We really want to get to 0. Other events have happened. Lead-based paints in homes went away. That was banned. That's another big source for lead. The lead on the outside of the home sloughed off, went into the soil, and then you've got children that are outside in the soil. So the lead on the paint sort of went away. Another thing is the lead fixtures, as was talked about here. Those, while they have gone away, they have a legacy that remains. They're still in some older homes. So these are things we are concerned about. There is not a safe dose of lead, and we have a lot of data on lead exposure, particularly of children. That's what we're really concerned with. The data that sort of forms our opinion on that, though, are long-term exposure. These are children that have been exposed throughout their entire lifetime, generally to higher concentrations of lead than the MCL, the standards that have been set by IEPA. There's where we have some pretty good information that lead has these neurodevelopmental endpoint problems. This is like decreased IQ, decreased attention spans. There's some newer information that's come out in the last 15 years that says even lower concentrations could have some of these impacts. Again, it's for long-term exposures. The studies that really look at short-term exposures, sort of transient spikes of lead, they're more equivocal, and some studies say that there's potential for an issue. There's a lot of studies out there that says that those don't cause any of these long-term effects. So there's not a lot of good data to really inform our position on that, but the way that regulatory agencies look at this is to err on the side of caution. We don't want any lead in our water supply, and that the goal is to get to 0. We can't get complete exposure to lead out of the systems because you get lead from your food, from the soil, from all these other legacy sources that are out there in the environment. But we want to get as low as possible. With that, I'm going to turn it back over. Okay.
Hey, Doc, first of all, I'm concerned about the whole University Park resident at large. And I just recently found out that I'm going to be a new grandfather, right? So my daughter's only about 6 or 7 months, 6 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So what exposure may she encounter during this whole process?
Right, so if she was drinking water that was in this time frame, there may have been higher levels of lead in that. Those little higher levels that have been measured were those first flush samples. So unlike some of these other major metropolitan areas that have lead service lines, where the corrosive activities of that could have given rise to lead that would have been higher for longer periods of time, it's less likely under the situation you've got that the concentrations that were actually consumed were as high as the numbers that have been shown there. But we don't know. The key for you, I would suggest, get the blood testing done. Okay. Let's find out what the exposure is, and then we can characterize what that potentially could be. Generally, though, from the scientific knowledge that we've got, while no lead is really acceptable for me as a grandfather, I wouldn't like that. Small increases over time, a short period of time, are unlikely to have any adverse health effects. And we know that from some studies where there's interventional studies where people have had some upsets where they've had higher levels of lead, and then they've said, hey, something's going on here, let's do an intervention, get them into other more suitable sort of conditions, and they find no neurodevelopmental sort of long-term impacts from that.
So should we advise everybody in UP to have that blood testing, or what?
You've got Aqua that says that they're willing to do that. So if I were being served by water and I was in that area where you've got an older home, you've got concern there, test it, get it done. Right. I wouldn't reuse the water until they prove to me that it was good. Okay. So I mean, these are the things that we've got the data. Let's get the data and make decisions based on that.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, trustee.
So listening to your presentation, I have a question. Something just doesn't make sense to me. Why in the world would the EPA only have to allow 90% of our water to pass if there's no levels of lead safe? What sense does that make?
I agree that has some issues associated, and I believe that our goal is to get everybody to zero. The issue with that from a large water system is you can get a single aerator that's in one of those taps that might have these particulates into it that could trigger, and we can identify what that is. You don't want to shut down everybody's water supply every time when that happens. But I agree that our goal is to get to zero.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, trustee.
This is more towards, this may be towards Aqua. Okay, I sat here and I listened, and every time I hear that there's lead in the air, lead in our food, it sounds like someone's dodging the ball here. So I'm just going to ask a question. Green Gardens, Monee Township, they've been lifted, correct?
Right. They're off the do not consume.
Okay. Well, my question is, how are they lifted? And I'm quite sure there's houses in Monee Township and Green Garden that have pipes older than here in UP. It just seems like everything that's been happening is centralized University Park.
Yeah, so we've tested extensively as well in Green Garden and Monee, just like we're doing here. Those testing results have all come back acceptable, and the vast majority of all of them are post-1986. Those within that area, and there are a few within that area, we've individually notified those folks to do not consume. It sounds like there's maybe a couple of those houses, but those individuals know that, but we didn't want to keep the entire community on a do not consume. And we're working very hard with EPA to do the same thing here. In fact, we met with the EPA on Thursday, and we're working with them to devise a plan where if you have a post-1986 home or satisfactory lead results within your home here, that we can remove you from the do not consume as well.
Okay, just understand my point when I'm frowning quite a bit is because this is the question that the residents, everyone in this room, and this is why it's full, is that when you have Green Gardens, Monee Township, University Park, your water's coming from the Kankakee. Now look, I'm a legislator and a cop. I'm not a scientist and I'm not a plumber, but the average person in this room is thinking, water's coming up from the Kankakee, you're passing through Green Gardens, you're passing through Township, Monee Township, you hit University Park, all of a sudden, we have so much level of lead that, we can't drink water for a week. So, Mayor, before I yield my time, I just want to ask another question that my residents want to know. We know we can't drink it, but is it at least safe to wash? Women, they want to wash their hair. Can they wash the dishes? Can they take a bath in a hot tub without, because to me, it just seems like lead is everywhere today if listening to the presentation that I just heard. And Mr. Mayor, I yield my time back.
And if I might answer that, and if you're drinking it, that's where you get it internally. Lead does not have a high dermal absorption. It doesn't get through the skin. So washing with it, doing your clothes with it, bathing into it is not a health concern. It's really the consumptive use of it, drinking it. Don't use it in baby formulas. Don't make ice cubes with it. Don't use it in your cooking products. You don't want to soak your pasta in water. That's when you're going to get it. That's when you can potentially eat it.
Oh, all right. I have one person. Would you come to the podium? Here's someone from Illinois EPA, and he can answer some of those questions. And there's someone here from the EPA. No. Okay.
Hello, I'm Segundo Nailton from the Illinois EPA. I'm the Elgin Regional Manager. I'm here to read a statement from the Illinois EPA.
A little bit, they can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I'm short. Sorry. The Illinois EPA is working to ensure that Aqua Illinois is taking all necessary and appropriate steps to provide safe drinking water to its customers. The agency has been in contact with the company since the elevated lead levels were detected recently and met with them directly on June 20th, 2019 to discuss the next steps. Illinois EPA has requested, is receiving and reviewing all appropriate data submitted by Aqua Illinois. The source and the extent of lead in University Park drinking water system has not been confirmed, but is suspected to be from lead solder. The company indicates there are no lead or galvanized water service lines in the University Park area. Lead service lines are known to cause a higher amount of lead release than lead solder in drinking water with corrosive water quality. The agency continues to gather facts and evaluate data to determine our next course of action. The Illinois EPA has been in communication with the Illinois Department of Public Health and is continually sharing data and information requested from Aqua Illinois with U.S. EPA Region 5, including their lead expert, and U.S. EPA's Office of Research and Development staff for the review and feedback. Due to the complexity and seriousness of the issue, we cannot provide a timeline on when it will be resolved. We understand the do not consume order is a substantial inconvenience for the residents. However, it is being continued out of abundance of caution until all necessary questions are answered to guarantee the safety of the drinking water for the area residents.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Excuse me, one second. Let's do this in an orderly fashion. If residents have a question, please be recognized and then ask your question. Go ahead, sir.
Which is his need his name.
We need your name, sir.
I said Jeffrey Flournoy.
Jeffrey Flournoy? Okay.
I was on your website Thursday. Now, I can go to the Department of Transportation and find out if there's construction in an area I'm about to go to. I went on your site, there's absolutely nothing about this situation. On your site, it says that Aqua Illinois University Park passed all its lead and copper testing, and the last time it was tested was in 2017. Why is your site so behind? Why is your site so uninformative to the people, to the residents?
Are you talking about a drinking water watch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your site.
They are going to be releasing the data in the next few days. They are. I know you guys the recent lab results.
And Mayor,
But
Mayor, could I say something?
Yes.
Mayor, and I think that's, it's one of the reasons why we get the results very quickly, and with our agreement with you, provide those when we receive them. We'll also ensure in the future that the village has them in a very timely manner, and you may post them how you see fit, so that the residents have that. We want that, so that we continue this transparency.
Okay. We're going to start taking questions from the audience. If you'd like to just line up, or I'll just recognize you as I see the hands. Sir, please come forward and state your name for the record.
David Ryan, 926 Union Drive.
Is there a microphone for him?
Oh.
Mr. Ryan, Sergeant Ryan, give me 1 second, see if I can get a microphone for you. So people can hear.
No.
No.
Segundo. I think you can sit down.
You want to take the podium up there, Darrell? Thank you.
I was trying to get
Davis, we're going to sit the podium right there. Just stay there.
Can everybody hear me now? My question is, they said we had, in some of the older houses, they said we had lead solder, which is, they put the chemical in the water, in the system to clean it out. Question is, those pipes are still the same pipes. So over time, it seemed like we run right back into the same problem. Who's responsible for the maintenance of that? Is that on us, or is that on the water company? My question is this a temporary fix, or is this permanent? I'm not a water expert, but I think we all need an answer to that question.
Yeah, I think I can answer that.
Turn the podium facing those people.
Do you want to answer?
Thank you.
Okay, did everybody hear what I was saying?
All right, Mayor, I can answer that question if you want me to answer it.
needs to be there.
Ready? I want to make sure. So the gentleman's exactly right. It's the exact same pipes that were in there before. For years, the pipe wall has that coating. People have lead solder in houses all across Illinois that we service. The difference here was that the chemistry inside the water main changed, and it removed the protective coating. So you, as a property owner, shouldn't have to change all the lead services out of your house, or the lead solder out of your house. The protective coating that we have supplied to the water system should provide that, and that's what failed to occur here. So it's an issue that we need to correct. And once we have the new chemical treatment added, and we have since Saturday, and if you help us flush it through there so it can reestablish that protective coating, you'll be safe again, and the samples will show that.
That's a permanent fix now?
Correct.
Your name, sir? Yep.
My name is Paul Peppers. My question is, what effect is this new chemical that you're adding to the water going to have on the water itself? I mean, is it just as harmful, or what type of chemical is it? Everyone is just saying that we're going to add this new chemical, to the water to cover up the lead, solder, and stuff like that in the pipe. What chemical are you using, and what effect will it have on the water system?
Well, I'm not the scientist, but I think I can answer this one. It's called an orthophosphate, and it's a commonly used chemical throughout the water industry, approved by the EPA. It's for iron, and it's for doing just what we're doing. And so many communities throughout the state of Illinois and across this country use ortho and polyphosphates. Oh, yes, and it was previously used here. And we used ortho and polyphosphates in University Park for years with great success.
We're going to go from the list first, and then we'll take the other customers. Mr. Bradley, please come to the podium.
Can I just go ahead and ask
No, we're going to go by the list. Just give me a second. Come on, Mr. Bradley.
So this is the comment section, not just questions?
This is the question and answer section, yes. Pull the mic up so we can hear a little bit, Chief.
Okay. First of all, good morning to Mayor Rudez and the entire administration and all of my neighbors.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Ed Bradley. I'm a resident of University Park. I'm here today to urge the mayor and the administration of University Park to file a class action lawsuit against Aqua Water for the unsanitary water they have been piping into our homes, for the pain and suffering our families have had to endure and continue to endure while dealing with this, and for the irreparable damage they have done to the village administration's reputation. Homeowners who try to sell their homes in the future will have to deal with the question of, is the water safe, which will be a concern of the buyer, businesses, as well as people who want to rent apartments out here. They won't want to locate out here because we now have a reputation for having bad water. So this is a long-lasting damage the village of University Park is suffering because of Aqua Water. I urge the board to have the water tested 4 times a year by an independent contractor, which our village should choose, not Aqua, because we can't trust them anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Mr. James Bell.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
One second, Mr. Bell.
I guess in regards to, my name is Joe Miller, I'm one of the attorneys for the village. In regards to the question, in regards to litigation, there's several options. There's a couple of things I want to say. One, we have something on the agenda for the board to actually authorize our office to work with the village manager, the mayor, the board, in regards to looking at all possible situations that we can do in regards to this crisis for the best interest of the residents. But the other thing is that, people should know as citizens, you can also file litigation absent whatever action the village does. So you should be aware that that's an option that you have on your own. But there's later action in this agenda for the board to authorize our office to work with the village manager, the mayor, and the board to keep the citizens, the best interest of the citizens at hand.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, trustees, representatives from Aqua, residents.
Speak a little louder, please.
It occurred, well, if I understood you correctly, sir, you stated that there was an additive added to the filtering system which caused the soldered pipes to emit lead into the water that comes out of our faucets. Is that about right?
The chemical that is added.
I'm talking about the chemical that was added that caused this problem, not the one that you're adding to fix it.
Yes, so the chemical that we added at the booster station here in University Park, it did not work as intended and instead removed that barrier between the lead and the water.
Okay.
That's correct.
You have been servicing University Park with water long before '86, is that right?
1984, but yeah, close by.
Okay. You knew in 2018, or should have known, the composition of the pipes in the homes in University Park. Is that not right?
You're exactly right.
So if with some type of research or forethought, you would have been able to find out what effect this new chemical added would likely have on our pipes. Is that about right?
That's correct.
So either Aqua was unconcerned or extraordinarily negligent or careless with our lives or our health, such that you didn't take the time to figure out what this chemical would do to our pipes.
Well, we did do that. We had a study consultant, third-party independent consultant come in, and they actually analyzed the water and did that. We had recommendations from our water expert to make the adjustments that we made. It didn't work the way it was supposed to. And you're exactly right. We know there's homes here that have lead solder. We know the chemical composition of the water, and the adjustments that were made were unsuccessful and led to this issue. You're exactly right.
Can you please tell me what the chemical was that was added that caused the problem of the lead from the soldered pipes to get into the water? What was that chemical?
The chemical is called a polyphosphate, and we've fed polyphosphates here for years. So we fed polyphosphates to remove the iron from the pipes, remove the iron tubercles inside the pipes. And it did that.
This is a chemical that caused the problem, as far as you know.
It's exactly right. It did that. It removed the iron from the pipes, just as it was intended to do. The unintended consequence, though, was it also removed the protective coating that protected your water from the lead solder in your home.
Okay. Did you test that chemical to determine what impact it would have on the soldered pipes prior to adding it to your filtration system?
I'm going to have to defer to you on the science part.
There was a review of the chemistry done by an expert, and then there was, we followed the process working with IEPA where we have to submit to them what we're going to do and have them review and comment upon those chemical changes. The work we've done with polyphosphate throughout the country and in this system specifically has never created an issue before. So this was not something that was expected.
So you're suggesting that University Park, Illinois is unique in reference to this issue that was created because our homes were built before 86 or 83 or 80. I find that extraordinarily
we don't
hard
know
to
that.
believe.
We don't know that.
Okay.
Before the next question, we have a representative from the EPA who would like to make a statement. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Gerard. I'm from the United States Environmental Protection Agency.
We can't hear you for the record.
There we go.
Start over, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Gerard. I'm from the United States Environmental Protection Agency. I'd like to thank Mayor Udez as well as the Board of Trustees for providing EPA the opportunity and invitation to attend today to listen to the concerns of the citizens in the community. I also have with me today as well Miguel de Toro, who's an expert in our water division in the Chicago Region 5 office, and he'll be able to provide an update today to the community members as well as the board on the important work that EPA is doing and the federal government on this important matter to the community. Michael? Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, board members, and good morning to all of you. My name is Miguel Del Toro, and I work in the U.S. EPA Region 5 office. I work in the Water Division, in the Groundwater and Drinking Water branch. I'm the Regulations Manager in that branch. Okay. Our role is primarily oversight of the Illinois EPA, who directly implements the program to make sure that public water systems comply with the national drinking water regulations. We also provide technical support upon request in many cases such as this. So with regards to University Park, we're working directly with the Illinois EPA. We're working with our experts in the Office of Research and Development in Cincinnati, and we have one of the premier corrosion and corrosion control experts working on the situation here. We're looking at all the data that we've requested, we have received. We're looking at all of the information before the switch, after the switch, providing recommendations to Illinois EPA, to Aqua Illinois. We are, where we need additional information, we're requesting it, and we've been getting that information, and we're working our way through that. So we will continue to do that. We will continue to look at the data as it comes in, and it will be coming in now on a weekly basis. We have requested additional parameters to be sampled, or rather recommended. The state has requested that. Aqua Illinois has agreed to do that. And those additional parameters that we want data for will help us to help University Park and to evaluate the treatment. So I just wanted to let folks know and thank the mayor and the council for inviting us. And just to let people know, we will continue to provide support to Illinois EPA, and as well as advice, recommendations, and so forth.
Thank you very much for your support. Deborah Taylor, Public.
Mr. Craig, would you get cards from them, please?
All of them.
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Deborah Taylor, and I actually have questions which would be related to precautionary measures before you actually enter the process of implementing the water. I heard over and over again that it is possibly the older homes that were the channel for the lead being released into the water. That was what I heard you guys say over and over. My concern is that as a precautionary measure, if that was the case, Aqua was given a map of our village and knew the demographics, and also knew where the older homes were. Could it have possibly been, this could have been eliminated by testing the older homes, especially since you know as much about lead, and you know the possibility of that lead being channeled because of the older home being impacted by whatever solution you were going to use to move the water, the new water, through our system?
So as part of the requirements by EPA on how we do the testing, we are actually required to identify the older homes and make them the sampling pool that we sample from. And in fact, those 15 locations where we had the elevated results were at older homes. So our goal, the point of that monitoring is to look for that.
So as a precautionary measure before you actually implemented the water, could you have taken samples from those homes, those older homes, that you knew the possibility was a higher possibility of those levels being higher there?
They were sampled.
I'm sorry?
They were sampled.
And what was the outcome of all of that?
We showed on the graph above earlier, prior to adding that chemical, we had sampled and it had passed the requirements for EPA.
Okay, so your sample, it said what? Could you repeat that, what the outcome was?
So prior to the addition of the chemical, as per our required sampling, which we sample those same homes every time we're requested to, as part of the schedule, those were below or met the regulatory requirement. When we had the results come back that we got last Thursday, it was from the same locations we always sample to make sure that we have that worst case scenario.
Okay, well, it seems to me you have a chemist team. You have a team of chemists, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, well, your chemist should know the composition of the solution that you intended to use, and the chemist should also know what the physical capabilities are of that solution. So, again, like James was saying, something happened here. Someone missed the ball because they should have been able to give you the possibilities of what could have happened in this situation. And obviously, someone missed it.
Deborah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
And Craig, I'm the one that sent you the 100 signatures from the residents saying they wanted to have this meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Del Toro talked about having some of the industry's most renowned experts working on that, and we worked with some experts in trying to get this new chemical in and get the clearest water we possibly could to customers.
And Craig, will you be on the grounds as we move through this process?
Yeah, I'm not going to be anywhere else. I'm going to be here for sure.
Thank you.
Next question is Gina Williams, then we'll go to the people in line.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My question is kind of similar to Ms. Taylor's, because if the discovery was made in August of 2018, and even though you say that it was a small number of homes that did tests and you found the discovery, less is more when it comes to our lives. So when you discovered this, my question is, why weren't more tests done more frequently, not all the way to June, because now our children, our grandchildren, ourselves, we have consumed this lead. And how soon were our schools, our college campus, our daycares, how soon were they notified? Our children are our greatest priority. And they've been consuming this water all year, in the parks, everywhere. And you say this could be fixed, and it sounds like you're saying in a short period, but if it's not, what is your plan B? Where do we go from here?
I'm going to try to answer all three of your questions as easily as I can here. So first, we don't have any results from August till June, so we don't know how long that was there. And that's why we shared that information. Two,
He said we don't know from August to June, the discovery.
But two, you asked if we sampled the schools. Okay, so we have gone out to the schools, tested them. I'm waiting for the results to come back. We've been working with the health department, looking at daycare centers and everything else. We want to make sure people are safe, and that if they are in doubt, they should not use that water for food and drinking. I think your third question was, I'm sorry,
Your plan B, because you say that this would, it sounds like you're saying we're going to move quickly, but if it's not resolved soon.
We've involved national experts who are looking at this. We've actually taken, thanks to one of the members of the community, we were actually able to take a section of pipe out of their home and send it to this expert laboratory where they're doing all kinds of tests to make sure that the solution that we have is the long-term solution. If we see anything that suggests otherwise, those experts are going to give us instruction on what needs to be done to change that so that there is a long-term solution. So we have a long-term solution now that we believe will work, but we're continuing to work with experts, EPA, IEPA, to make sure that that will continue to work. And if something isn't right, we will have a plan B, C, D, E, but that is based on the data that our experts are going to generate.
Thank you.
Mildred Morgan.
Thank you to the board and to everyone. I'm a whole lot disappointed. Through the courtship of Aqua and the new water system in University Park, once that system was installed and you told us, you can get rid of your softeners, your filters. You said, we can drink that water. That's what you said to us. And I waited about a couple of months and then went ahead on and started drinking the water. The day that I found out that the water was contaminated, I had had 2 cups of coffee. I drink coffee, and everybody knows that, all day long. I had coffee. We trusted you. We trusted Aqua. Now, there's not too much trust because of what has happened. So I just wanted to let you know of our disappointment in Aqua and believing in Aqua. And so I don't know where we go from here. Thank you.
Mildred, you're exactly right, and we did work closely together to help communicate about the new water, and we promised you the best tasting water and the highest quality water in the state. And I understand that we don't have that trust now, and we'll have to work to regain it.
And the one question I did want to ask was, we can't get here. That was my real true question. I'm sorry, because I'm a little nervous. My real true question is, now that we're going through this, guess what we have to do? All those systems and softeners and things that we pulled out of our house, we got to put those things back in. That takes money. The monetary value of that is, I'm sure, tremendous, because all of us got rid of our systems. And so now we don't know, or do you know, how long we're going to go through this. Trying to brush your teeth with a cup of water, it don't quite get it. You know, I need running water. So now I got to look through, thanks to Mr. Box, Greg Box, he told us about the osmosis system. So now we have to buy softeners, filters, those things all over again because we believed in Aqua. And what Aqua told us, you can drink that water today.
So the question about softeners, filters, et cetera, remember, this is occurring between the meter and your faucet.
I understand that.
A softener does not remove lead. In fact, a softener on water that is already soft can make it corrosive and actually make more lead appear. So you do not want to add a softener. Okay? Because that changes the water chemistry, especially the water chemistry that we're trying to adjust.
So did my filter work?
Filters that, if you had to use a home point of view system, IEPA has a list of information on what they call point of use, which is something you might want to screw onto your faucet or something like that. If you put something on that's called whole house, it is usually after the meter, but then the water is still going to be in touch with the lead solder. So it has to be at the actual tap or the faucet where you use the water. That's where you would have to put any system. And it would have to be an IEPA approved, National Sanitation approved filtration system. But with the new phosphate that's being added, or the phosphate that's being added, that should not be required once we can prove that to you with the data that will be collected in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Mrs. Truss. Thank you, Mrs. Morgan.
Good morning, if it's still morning, to everyone here, including the mayor, the board, and everyone here. Now, Mr. Blanchett, you and I have met before, and we've had deep discussions on that. I got to tell you, I didn't believe you from the very beginning. And the only time I've been in Missouri is on my way to Nebraska. Going through there. We kept buying water by the 5 gallons to consume. But I have one little question here. How did Governor State escape this?
Who? Governor State was tested, and it was fine, right?
And the plumbing was replaced.
But now I remember when Governor State was built. Okay? Now, how did they escape the system?
So that's a good question, but we actually went out to Governor State University, to the properties there, tested them for lead, and we inspected the plumbing. The facilities team there basically showed us that there is no lead solder plumbing there anymore, that it's all been replaced. We've continued to ask them for that information and continued to go out there upon their request to collect samples, but the samples that were out there were negative for lead. And there was no lead solder plumbing that we could identify in our visit.
Now you're going to tell me that Governor State had the foresight when they built that building to not put those lead pipes in there when you were sweating in pipes?
No, they went through and did renovations later on after 2000 to remove a lot of their plumbing and change a lot of their plumbing according to their facilities team. And according to the results that we've had and the visits where we visited the buildings, we could not find that.
Now, I would buy that for that dorm over there, but I'm not going to buy that because I utilize Governor State on a daily basis. And my husband right now is so afraid he doesn't take a shower at home or anything. He goes over to Governor State and takes his shower. But I'm trying to tell him, you are no safer here. I go to Park Forest and take mine. My grandkids are coming today, and they were here last week, and my son would not have it. Bathing here, we went to Park Forest and did it. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not believing that. We need to be more diligent with what you are doing now and in the future with this. Now, we do have some kind of filter. My husband has some kind of filter that filters as they come into the house. And then someone said, as it comes off of that meter and before it goes out into the pipes. But those pipes in there, they've been sweated in with copper. I mean, those copper pipes have been sweated in with that lead. Now, I don't believe, I went out there checking, and we can't find no real filter that's going to filter lead. There are no filters that filters lead. And just like Ms. Morgan says, it's like going camping, brushing your teeth, and that's not, in that picture you give us, I appreciate that, but it's not enough water. It's only enough to brush my teeth and wash my face. That's about all others. And the rest of it, I have to do the airplane.
So you asked about the filters and filters that remove lead. I think it's important that folks hear about what filters remove lead. IEPA and EPA have a list of filters that remove lead that are certified, that go through an independent testing process, whether it's a pitcher filter or a filter on your faucet or a filter on your house. They have that list available. They have information here about that. The pictures that we provided were based on those lists, that they're certified. And yes, we would like to make sure that you get enough water. That's why we're working as hard as possible to fix this and get it back to the way it was.
One more question. How long will that filter last? You know, if I filter this or filter, you know, should I replace it? Because they only last so long. It looks like my Brita filter, and it only lasted so long, and I got to replace the filter.
Okay, so great question. Great question. And we have folks here today that can talk to you about the filters, but real quick, it depends on how much you use, but typically it's 20 to 30 days the last. But we have filter replacements here to give to customers, to give to the community. So we will be supplying replacement filters, whether you need it early or need it later. We have filter replacements here for those pitchers. So we will be providing those.
Okay, I guess that's enough time to deal with you with this negligent, but this is negligent all the way, and you know, and that's my non-degree law degree.
Mrs. Greer. Thank you, Mrs. Mary.
My name is Bobby Greer. First of all, those filters that you talk about that EPA, can they or will they, for the faucets, can you provide those to the residents that are affected?
Honestly, I'm going to have to get more research on that. We want the filter pitcher, though, and you know what? If those aren't working that good, we will evaluate the other type of filters, because we want to make sure people have confidence with their water, and we can certainly look into that. I don't have the answer today. We've been using the filter pitchers. I understand there's some challenges with those.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the filters that your expert just talked that we could use.
We could look into that.
Okay.
We will certainly look into that.
My question is in regards to your timeline. Some problems started with the chemicals in August, and there was a slight elevation, so you decided to do more testing, and the chemical that you used, it did some disruption in the piping. And so in June is when you decided to really warn the residents that the water wasn't good for consumption. However, I have a problem with that because one of your other experts got up there and said that in May, which was last month, he was contacted. And we were only informed last Friday about this problem. So how can you tell us that you are really concerned about the citizens here when in May you really knew there was a serious problem that you brought an expert in?
We didn't have any results until June 13th.
Well, why did you bring your expert in May?
I don't know where that came from. I'm not sure what you're referring to. The expert.
When did you bring this?
Just last night.
I thought I heard May, last month. Last month.
No, ma'am. I came into the team yesterday and flew in last night. So.
Last night, okay. As far as our pets are concerned, should we have any concerns about them?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
What about our pets?
We don't have a lot of good data on animals and the effects of or how they take it up, lead, or the effects. But generally, animals like an outdoor dog, they have a much higher background lead that they get because they're out on the yard. So animals tend to have other sources of lead that is higher than their drinking water. If it were my pet and you were under a do not drink, I wouldn't give it to my pet. I wouldn't give it to my goldfish. I would use a different water supply until Aqua gets things back to homeostasis. So.
Okay, the other question, because everybody can't get up to ask questions. I was asked to ask Aqua, in Richton Park, they had a problem with their water, and you were doing something with theirs, and I understand that that wasn't a good fix. It didn't work. So what are you doing differently here?
Well, we've never had any interaction with Richton Park. They have their own system, and we don't have any interaction with them. They're a separate municipal system. Yeah, we don't do any work for them or are affiliated with them in any way.
Okay, my very last question, Aqua. As a lot of residents, I have never consumed the water. I buy my water by the gallons. I have filters on my refrigerator. I just never trusted it. And I am so happy that I did not. I'm very reluctant to take a shower. Thank you.
Please, let's keep quiet so we can hear the residents' questions when they're speaking.
Thank you, Mayor, for this. President Blanchard, I don't think you check your voicemail.
Your name, ma'am? My
name is Allison Jordan. I have left you several hundred over the last 2 years. Check your voicemail, sir.
Do you have the number?
Yes, I do. In 2016, my father, who is Dr. Robert Jordan, some of you may know his legacy, he took over 40 years private practice, and he had probably about 100% of the kids in the South suburban community. And in 2016, he tested several children who lived in that apartment building over there, and they all tested positive for lead. I brought it to the attention of a Melissa Calhoun. Is she here? Where's Melissa? Because she cursed me out like my grandmother from Shreveport, Louisiana, when I addressed her. And she sent me an email copying Mr. James Jans Colton. Is she here? On July 12, 2016, and told me that on February 9th,
After I had mentioned this, she told me that I had misinformation, I was stupid, she diminished my father and his legacy. And she said on February 9th, Aqua attended the village board meeting and discussed the pipeline project and water quality in great detail. We also attended an information fair on February 29th. Below is some of the information. She went on to say that this report of the water quality would be available because it met all requirements from the EPA. I asked for that report, I never got it, and I left you several messages.
Ma'am, you can ask Mildred Morgan. She's called me, and every single time I've called her back. I've never received a message from you.
I left you messages. Not only that, soon after, I've had over 60,000 gallons of water pouring into my resident over the last 2 years, ironically. I had someone come to my house 2 days ago who told me that they can't figure out why I have 60,000 gallons of water pouring into my home. I've had plumbers come in and test the water over the 2 last years, and I also left you a message that they found lead in that water as well. So check your voicemail, and I believe that we should have available that report that was done in 2016 on the pipeline project and the water quality. Do you have that available? Can we get that? Yes or no? Can I get an answer?
You're going to have to come give us more information to tell us what you're talking about, because I'm not familiar with
You
any
don't
of
know
the
what I'm
issues you're
talking about? You've
about.
been in that seat since 2014.
Exactly.
This is right under your clock.
Exactly. We'd be happy to talk with you after, and I'll be happy to provide any information you want. But
So would you provide your number in case I have your number incorrectly?
What is the number that you have for me?
Oh, I'm going to just tell your number. I mean, I have Melissa's number, I have your email. You want me to forward the email to the media? I've already done it.
That's fine. That's fine.
Ms. Detburn.
Hello, my name is Donna Detbarn. I am your Money Township Supervisor. One of the first questions to ask today was, why is Money Township and Green Garden taken out of the situation and not University Park? Well, I want to tell you about Money Township. Money Township is a 36 square mile area. It consists of the Will County portion of Park Forest, the village of Money, the village of University Park, and all unincorporated areas within that 36 square miles. We have many rural communities. Now, the area in Park Forest, they have a private water source and are billed through the village of Park Forest. The village of Money is not affected because they also have their own private water source. Green Garden, I am not certain about that. I'm assuming that a lot of the homes there were built since 1986, since it was a fairly rural community, and those that, and before that, there was many of those homes that were on well water, just like we used to be on well water here before we changed over to the Kankakee River water through Aqua. Most of the other areas within Money Township unincorporated, again, have well waters, or they do get their water through Aqua, and as Aqua said, if they are an affected home, they have been contacted. So there are still a few in the outer areas. So the majority of the problem is still here in University Park because we solely have the Aqua system. Now, I myself live in the affected area. I have lived in my home in University Park for 48 years. I have some questions. And my understanding from what I've heard today, because I didn't know some of this information ahead of time, because I was not contacted as a governmental unity, is that it's been about 10 months, from what I can figure out from last August, that the treatment began that caused the water and that caused the lead to possibly leach into our water. Is that correct?
So the treatment, the chemical, was introduced before August. We took samples in August, and the samples come back within IEPA limits, although they were higher than what they were before. And so we worked with an expert water industry specialist to make an adjustment. And at that time, we believed that adjustment is what caused this issue.
Okay. The additive that you said was the chemical that was causing the lead to leach in our water was called, I believe you said, polyphosphate?
Correct.
What harm does that do to the human body if it can take the lead out of our pipes?
Sure. And that's a good question. Unintended consequences happen a lot.
Please keep quiet so we can hear the answer, please.
This, however, is a compound that is widely used in water treatment systems, and we have a lot of experience with it. Phosphate itself is something that's an essential nutrient. We would not expect that compound to have any adverse health effects. It's a sort of innocuous. It doesn't harm people. Unless, of course, you drink it right out of whatever the source of it is. But in the concentrations that are used in the water system, it would not have any effect. And we have a long history of experience with using it.
Thank you. One more question, which is, because you are leaching the lead out of the solder, is that weakening our pipes because the solder has been weakening? And is that going to cause piping infrastructure in my home in the future? Am I going to have a more broken pipes or more water problems because of that?
No, we don't believe that it's going to cause a problem with your home plumbing, because typically that lead solder, there's a lot of it in that joint, the way they sweat it in. So what's being dissolved off is on the outer edge. It shouldn't weaken the plumbing. You shouldn't be experiencing plumbing problems. But if you are, if you do see something like that, you should let us know, but you shouldn't be seeing that. It shouldn't be happening, especially over a 10-month window.
Okay, so in the future, if I have some unforeseen problems that could possibly be caused by this, then I could contact Aqua and they would talk to me about covering problems?
If you have any problems in the future, you can call me.
All right, Craig. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dedburn. Young lady, please state your name for the record.
My name is Linda Jones, and I am a resident of University Park. First of all, I want to thank all my neighbors who have so professionally asked questions to help me understand a little better. I've only been a resident for about 4 years, so the knowledge that you guys have presented today has helped me a lot. Secondly, I want to thank you guys. I think you've done an awesome job with representing and your power slides and all of that stuff. The problem I have is that at least on 2 occasions, I've heard people say that this whole situation has been an inconvenience. I beg to differ with that. I think that this has been emotionally stressful. I think it's been physically challenging. My husband has had to test water frequently throughout the day. Finally, the question came up about the dogs. We have inside dogs, so I think you've done a really good job being reactive, but I don't know if there was such a good job being proactive. So I think for me, I don't have a question. I just really wanted to say, after standing up here for about an hour to get here, is that I really hope and I really pray that the severity of this situation is taken to heart, and it's not just an inconvenience, because it's not just an inconvenience. You talked about you being a grandfather. I'm a grandmother, but you're not here. You're not in University Park. And so I think as for me, and I'm not a public speaker, so please forgive me if I stumble, but for me, this is a very, very, very serious matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time it is right now.
Your name for the record?
Deborah J. Stroud.
Thank you.
Unlike Donna Detbarn, I'm only going on 46 years of residency. Because I remember when you can put a strainer on a glass of water and you caught floaties in the water. So today, we're not catching the floaties, we're only informed about the lead. I don't see where that's a good thing at all. My question, one of my questions, people who have already been tested for lead, what compensation, what assistance is Aqua going to give to those people who have had confirmations of lead from ingestion?
If you want to do the testing, we'll supply the testing through our laboratory or independent lab called LabCorp. I believe it's out of like Ascension or one of the hospitals here. But we really need to have folks go and do the testing so we can make sure it's represented this time period.
So are you saying since notification from last Friday, if someone did go to the doctor and did receive confirmation, that now they have to go through your company as well?
Correct. If they want to have the compensation, we're going to give you a packet that you can review and bring back at a later time to see that the testing gets done. In order for us to do it, we have to make sure that it's done and we get the documentation to show that in fact it's from this time period.
Okay, so we should trust the results from you again as we've trusted.
We're just paying for it. You're going to go to the lab yourself. You're going to get the results from the lab. We're just paying for it. We just want to ensure that it's the laboratory, LabCorp is the one that's going to do it for us.
Okay, please help me on my confusion. How long ago did you say that the water began being tested in University Park? I think the reference was 15 of 36 residences. How long ago?
You mean this particular round of testing?
Yes, sir.
Middle of May. So the first sample bottles were dropped off in May 14th to the first customers. The sample set of data for the 15 customers is from, I believe, May 15th through May 22nd.
Okay. Now, I happen to have a neighbor who has informed me because she thought she was under the impression I also was being tested since August of last year, because she has said that she received a flyer, a notice from Aqua in regards to her high level of lead. And she's been being tested since last year. Are you aware of that, Mr. Blanchett?
I'm not aware of that, but I'd be happy to talk to you about it and look at the information if she has it here. I'm not aware of that. When we sample, we do notify every resident right away of their results. And so if she was one of the homes that had a higher level last year, she may have gotten information that said, you may want to get this checked out. But we also would say you might want to check out your home just because of what Mr. Crockett said, or Dr. Crockett said. You might have a strainer, you might have something. So I'd be more than happy to have our folks talk to you about that or visit with her and see what kind of information she has.
Okay, at this point, since the older residences reacted as they did from what had been done as far as in the water system, how are we assured that from this point on, doing the second method, how are we being assured that that would be a positive corrective measure?
Great question. So here's what we've been doing and what we plan to do, working with the mayor, working with IEPA and EPA. That testing will be completed. It will be reviewed. How we do the testing will be reviewed by them. The actual results will be reviewed by them. There will not be a lift on the do not consume. There will not be an all clear until these parties look at that information and it's been verified by someone else other than us that it's good. We are not going to be doing this alone. This is going to be highly reviewed and scrutinized by IEPA, the United States EPA, and the mayor and the team here, as well as any other agency that needs to be involved. We want to be completely transparent and make sure that they see every result, question every result, question how anything was done to make sure that you feel 100% confident in what you see.
Okay, not being familiar with the time frames on those testings, the consideration of us not having to pay water or sewer costs for July, for some reason I'm hearing possibly, and I could be wrong, I'm hearing this is going to take past the month of July. That being the case, just like we're not paying for July, why should we be paying past July if this issue has not been resolved?
Yeah, you won't. What you're not paying for now is your June bill before this even happened. The bill that we're waiving as a zero is the June bill. And so if this continues to move forward, we will adjust. No one is going to pay for water they can't drink or for water they use to flush out their pipes. That's
Thank
not
you
gonna
for
happen.
agreeing with me, because I wasn't going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your other question about the sampling, the mayor has asked us to work closely with him to have an alternate sampling firm come in and do independent samples and then cross-check them against ours, and we've agreed to do that.
Okay, possibility, and I forgot your name, sir, I apologize. You had mentioned that some kind of outside filtration system, as Ms. Morgan had spoken on. You're saying that is good, bad, or indifferent?
Okay, that's a great question, because a lot of people are going to approach you and say, I think you should put my product in your house. So what you need to understand today about the situation that we explained on the screen is that if you're worried about the lead in your home, if you're worried about that and you want to take an extra precaution beyond what is being provided, if you are going to put some kind of system in, it has to be at the actual faucet that you're going to use. Because between the meter and your faucet, there is pipe with lead solder if you're in an older home pre-1986. So it doesn't do you any good to put a system on at the meter, because it will miss all the lead that it needs to take out. Also, some people will say, we want you to put a softener on. A softening system actually will potentially make the water corrosive if it's not implemented properly, and that could damage your plumbing or cause more problems with the lead. So whatever filter system you get, which IEPA and EPA have a list of, if you decide to do that, it needs to go on the actual faucet you're going to use or under the sink of that faucet you're going to use, and it needs to be certified. I believe it's National Sanitation Foundation certification number 53 that is certified for lead removal, which is what the pictures that were provided meet. So please be careful. If you're worried about that, come to the customer center. We'll get somebody to give you, or call us. We'll get somebody to help you with that more, because we know this can be confusing. There's a lot of us don't do our own home plumbing, right? And we want to get the right thing put in our house. So if you want to do something different beyond what's provided, call us and ask us questions, and we'll help you get there.
Thank you. I know you'll be inundated with calls. Can I ask right now, from what I printed out about Culligan, they've got about 5 different types of proposals, and because I'm not in that trade, I'm not familiar. So if in the event I chose to get Culligan, or any other resident chose any other direction to go, while you're resolving our problem, will you absorb the cost?
We are actually trying to work with Culligan to do, and other entities like that, to try to do another method of water delivery. So we're already working on trying to do that if this is a prolonged event.
Well, I think that kind of makes people feel a little bit more comfortable now that we know that, because the water that's being dropped off at the house, the case, that's thoughtful, but for a household of 6, 7 people, that's an average of maybe 2 or 3 bottles per person.
Yeah.
In a 24-hour period or more. And when you had mentioned about the school, as far as the schools being tested, we have a fire department of first responders. Has the fire department area been tested? Because they stay 24-hour shifts. They wake up having to brush teeth.
Yeah, they're cleared already.
Well, we tested them.
Thank you for telling us that, because I was concerned.
Not clear.
Oh, they're not?
No. I apologize for the miscommunication here. Let's make it, I want to be clear. There was a sample collected at the police department. There was a sample collected at the police department. That result came in. We have to evaluate that. The fire department, our specialists, are planning to visit that. We're looking to visit.
Excuse me, did you say planning?
They're planning to visit the fire department because we went to the police department and collected a sample. That sample result came back. Now we want to visit the fire department and look at the plumbing and make sure there isn't any lead solder there and arrange that. But our team has been very busy collecting 350 samples throughout the community already, and we have not reached the fire department yet. But we are trying to do that.
They're our first
and get to them.
responders.
But I appreciate that. That's a good point, and we need to get to those folks right away. Thank you.
Next question, please. Thank you, Mr. Stroud.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Consider a plan B, C, D, or E solution towards some sort of reparation while we can appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Tanya Hampton. I've been out here 43 years. Can you tell me what is the percentage that is a possibility that my home has lead?
I can't give you an exact percentage, but are you saying your home was built prior to 1986?
It was built in 72.
It is likely that it has lead solder in it, and if you want it tested, you can talk to our customer team or call or go on the website, and we'll arrange to get it tested.
With your expertise, long as you've been with the company, what do you think is the percentage? 5%, 15, 25, 50?
It is very likely in a home prior to 1986, if you haven't replaced the plumbing, if you have copper plumbing and it hasn't been replaced, that you have lead solder.
Okay, another question. If this plan does not work, because evidently the first one didn't, if this one doesn't work, are you going to replace the pipes in the village? That's okay. That's okay.
I just asked.
Well, the plan that we put in place, and that's why we're working so closely with the agencies, is a plan that has worked in other locations, and we want to ensure that it does work. And so we have a lot more folks working on this. We didn't hire experts when we first did this. It didn't work. And we've got a lot more folks engaged at US EPA and IEPA, as well as scientists from all across the country working on it. So I think it's safe to say that at this time around, it will work. And although that doesn't provide you any consolation, we're working with a much larger group of folks and stakeholders.
Okay.
And really, that's going to be determined by IEPA and EPA if it's working, and it's going to be reviewed by the mayor.
Could you tell me what the BPP level is?
Okay, so there are different ways the concentration of a chemical is measured. There's different units that are used. So they typically, you might hear different things. So for example, a milligram per liter is a milligram of that material in a liter of water. That is called a ppm, or part per million. So 1 part, or 1 grain of sand in a million grains of sand. A part per billion, a ppb is a part per billion. We also saw on the slide today, because scientists, we like to confuse people, micrograms per liter is what it's called. So you'll hear people say part per billion or microgram per liter. 1 part per billion is 1 grain of sand in a billion grains of sand. So it's a very, very small amount. 1 part per trillion, which is other chemicals that are measured at very, very low levels, and I'll give you a swimming pool example, is like 3 grains of sand in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So we are measuring these at 1 part per billion is our detection limit, and we look for the lead at that low level because we want to make sure that it's not there.
Okay, one more question. What about the children, the mothers that have children that they have to fix formula for? What about the elderly? What about the people that are sick and their immune system is compromised? What about the cancer patients? What are you going to do to make sure these people are protected? Hello.
So
Sure, and I'll address that. So there are sensitive individuals that we want to have low lead levels specifically for them. Those are pregnant women and children. That's the time frame that we really have the biggest concern because the end point, the thing that happens at the lowest concentrations are these neurodevelopmental effects. That's the most critical adverse health effect from lead exposure. So that's the population that we understand is the ones that we need to be most protective of when looking at public health endpoints.
Okay, what about the older and elderly people who are sick and who's in a diaper, who's bedridden, that they have to be cared for, and 1 case of water is going to do it a day for this household, for them to do everything that they need to do?
Well, you can also request additional water be brought to you. So if additional water is wanted, we could bring it to the house. We've been doing that every day. So if you go to the microsite, it's waterfactsillinois.com, or if you just call our call center, they'll bring more water. And we are working on a long-term plan in case this goes longer than a couple weeks, so that we can have something much more efficient, like the bottled water and the bigger containers, the dispenser. Those are all options that we're looking at. But in the meantime, we want to continue to provide you with water in the best method we know possible right now.
So how often now are you going to deliver this water? Once every other day? Once a day? Twice a week?
Yeah, we've been doing it once, about every other day. We do about 3,000 cases each time we go out. And the second day, we fill in and we take requests from people and we go door to door and deliver them. So we've been trying to do it every other day and fill in on the odd day. But if that doesn't keep up, then we'll improvise and we'll do something different.
So basically, if this plan does not work, considering the fact the other one didn't, basically you have no plans in the future to replace the pipes in this village?
No.
Wow.
Just for the record, state your name, please.
My name is Patricia Burton. I live at 707 Circle Drive. Been there 40 years. I would like to address the board. I thank our mayor and our board members for being here, and also Aqua for being here to answer questions. I thank you residents, and I really praise God for my residents because they have asked very educated questions and very important questions. My statement is this. First of all, you do not have bathing on the do not consume list. If a mucous membrane or mucosal membrane is a membrane that lines various cavities in the body and covers the surface of an internal organ, it consists of one or more layers of epidermis cells overlaying a layer of loose connective tissue. It is mostly in endodermal organ and is continuous with the skin in various body openings. Now, if the mouth is considered, the various openings are eyes, ears, inside the nose, inside the mouth, lips, vaginal, the urethra opening, and the anus. So why do you not have this on the do not consume list? You cannot tell me that those organs are not absorbing lead. When you take a shower, your nose, your ears, your eyes, all these organs are exposed. So I'm very concerned that you do not have this on the do not consumption list. Why?
Yeah, and I understand your question, and so you are right that epidermis tissue sort of does surround the body, the insides and the outsides of the body, but it is a very different functionally on how it works. The mucosa in your mouth, your digestive tract is designed so that things can pass through it. It's made to transport calcium, for example, from your diet into your bowel. Lead looks a lot like calcium. That's the reason that the body wants to take it up, and that's the mechanism that it actually affects the body, is the body gets confused. It's another large positively charged, divalently positively charged ion in the body that it's replacing calcium with. But your insides of your body are designed to sort of pull those things in. The outside is kind of your waterproofing. It's kind of one that doesn't allow that. Not to say that it's zero, but it is pretty low, the penetration of a ionic compound to get through the skin. There are some compounds that make it through the skin fairly well, but they are not charged compounds. Those can go through. Lead is not one of those.
You're talking about the skin.
I understand.
What about your ears? What about your nose? What about your vaginal area and your anus? What about those parts? If they can consume medication, and all of us here are adults. If those areas can consume medication, you're going to tell me that it cannot consume lead?
So that question goes into the amount that comes in. So the assumed amount of drinking water that a person has a day is about 2 liters of water. And the standards are set up to protect against drinking 2 liters of water that have that standard of 15 parts per billion. We don't assume that we're going to get through incidental ingestion from the shower into our mouth a very large amount of water, perhaps a few milliliters of water would come in that way. So it's just really the volume of water that would come in through those incidental routes that makes a huge difference in what your potential exposure would be.
Okay, well, tell me this. Do you have any facts on how long does it take to come through these areas? Someone mentioned they had a baby. You bathe the baby constantly. And not only that, the elderly, which is a concern. You know, they say, once an adult, twice a child. When an adult get older, their skin get thinner. Not only that, they have other complications. So, still, I cannot see why this is not on the do not consume. Bathing should be one of the items, and at this point, I feel that maybe awkward just thinking on the water terms. There's another, hey, then you're going to have to supply volumes of water for us to bathe with. Now,
may I respond to that? So, and I haven't been looking at this, or they haven't asked me to look at this at all financially for that concern. But this is not unique. Scientists in the agencies have looked at this particular route of exposure and have come to the conclusion that this is a very, very minor sort of exposure route. So it's not just my opinion here. There's a pretty good body of literature that looks at metals like lead, and specifically lead, and what their dermal absorption is and how much of exposure you can get from bathing or from showering that could come through the skin. And it's really an insignificant total of the amount. And if EPA folks could speak to that and provide concurrence, it is a concern, and I absolutely believe it.
Yes, because you keep on saying skin, but we're talking about the open areas that water comes through. We're talking about your nose. We're talking about your ears. We're talking about your vaginal. We're talking about anus areas. We're talking about open areas that when you shower, those areas are going to get water in it. You get water in your ear. How many people in here get water in their ears when they shower? I know it's I'm just concerned about it because really I have not used the water for showering because it is a concern of mine. You just can't tell me that. You know, I mean,
I understand that concern. I'm just giving you the data that's out there from the scientific community.
okay, you say scan though. You say scan.
And
you keep referring to scan.
I understand. In your ear canals, mucosal membranes, your nose, that you wouldn't have sufficient water intake through that to contribute significantly to your overall exposure.
So you said a minor amount. Do you know how much? And over what period of time could these areas consume lead?
I don't have that right off the top of my head, but I will gladly look that up and research that for you and get back to you. My impression is that it's much lower than 0.1% of what you would get from ingestion.
Okay. Keeping in mind we're trying to be at 0.
I understand.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi. My name's Karen Martin. I live on Sullivan Lane. I've been there 27 years. I have an in-home hair salon. I heard about this water situation last Saturday from a robocall. I was in my car, so as soon as I got an opportunity, I called, and they said you had to wait 9 to 5 Monday. So I called Monday. No one knew any information because I utilize chemicals that I wanted to know with between color, relaxer, perms. Are there some type of chemical reactions with when you have chemicals in your water? I have clients that come from other villages. I didn't know if I'm endangering them. So I just wanted to ask some questions. I called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I came up here because this was open. I came back yesterday, and I'm here today. Now, normally a hairdresser would be working on Saturday, but because I haven't had an answer, a real conclusive answer, I don't know, am I causing more harm than good? If I put blonde on someone's hair, is it going to come out red or green? Or when you put relaxer, I know how relaxer works. It opens the cuticle, and then water is the first step of neutralization. Are you locking that lead in once you normalize the shampoo? Nobody's telling me anything, so I'm not working. So I would like somebody just to say you can work. And on top of that, I live there. And on top of that, my hands are in water all day. So can I work? No one can answer that question. Second part 2, I have 3 raised bed gardens in my backyard with greens that I plan on eating for Thanksgiving. Thank you, Lord, it's been raining. But I haven't watered because I don't want to save the lead for later. So I need to know what I can do or what I shouldn't do. Is that now compost can I go back to work? Should I wear gloves? Should I tell my clients that come from Matson or Bourbonnais or wherever they come, everybody doesn't live here, but they import. I heard you say you tested the fire department, you tested the police department. There's a small business list, and I'm on there. So it seems like somebody would say, oh, these hairdressers use water on a daily basis. Maybe we should. They have people coming in, drinking their water. I don't know what they do in the bathroom. Maybe we should have been notified. My home was built in '78 on Sullivan Lane, and it's one of the model homes, I was told. I've been here since '92. So I imagine it probably has some issues. And I think with me having a business, I work from home, I live there, I've called. Every one of these tables probably knows me because I've been asking the same question to everyone that will listen, and I have yet to get an answer. One young man, Ryan, called me back. He said he was imported from Pennsylvania, and he tried to tell me about the whatever coating you just said, oxide or whatever, but he still couldn't answer my question. Because I don't know if anybody knows or if anybody did any testing. When you have a business base in your home, it's my only source of income. And I have to pay bills. I still live there. Can I work?
Let me see if I can shed some light on this. So the chemicals that Aqua is using are actually very common water supply chemicals, and so there's nothing unusual about the water that's coming through than what lots of other systems are doing. So I wouldn't anticipate that there would be any interaction between that water and your hair products and what's going on there. That it just doesn't ring that would have any effect. There may have been higher lead in your particular source water, particularly when it first came on, where that first flush would happen. But if you're a business that's using a lot of water there, that flushing of water through there actually would minimize any concentrations of lead that would be there. So I don't perceive that you've got a business issue associated with that. I would not have any concern what little hair that I have, having you take care of it. And trust me, I like the little hair that I still have left. On the gardening, again, the background levels of lead in soil, even in the most pristine areas of the state, are in parts per million level. 10 to 40 parts per million is kind of the soil background lead. So we're talking about water that might be applied that may have 10 to 100 parts per billion on it. So it's a very, very small amount of lead compared to just what's in the soil to begin with. You may actually be leaching more lead out of the top of the soil by putting more water onto it than adding lead in. So from a fruit and vegetable gardening and periodic irrigation like that, again, I would not anticipate that would have any adverse health effects. So the garden is good. I don't see any impacts from your business either.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted, yes.
Ms. Martin, those are all great questions. And actually, first, I think we need to get a list of the small businesses. I apologize, we did not do that. We're going to make that a priority. Once we leave here, we need to get the list of the small businesses, get it there. Second, my sister is a hairdresser. Her shop went through a similar incident in another place where they had to boil the water. It was through a weekend where she was very busy. I'm very sorry about what you're going through.
A pitcher of water is not going to get it.
So I just want to say that on the graph I showed earlier, when you flush the water for 2 to 3 minutes, we saw that more than 95% of the samples were below that limit. But we are happy to come out and test and look at what you have.
I got the test. I got everything. I talked to Ryan. He said he's going to send a test. I talked to everybody at these tables.
Did somebody get a bottle to you and everything?
I got it at my,
Okay.
And
so
I got a robocall. I flushed my whole system for a half hour last night, starting from the bottom to the top. I did everything.
I would like to get your contact information so we can follow up with you later. But the chemicals that are added, they're added in many cities and towns. In fact, the town I live in has the same chemical. The hairdresser there that colors my wife's hair does not have any effects on that. So it's a very common chemical. It's not going to have a problem on your products. But we will talk. If I can get your information offline, I'll try to help you as best we can.
Okay. And one other question I had, the schools. One of my clients wanted to know about the schools. Have the schools been tested out here?
We have collected samples from the schools. Now, if there are schools that have not been identified, we've been given a list of daycare centers from the health department. We're happy to test the schools as often as can. Schools are also required to test for lead under the EPA program. It is not uncommon for schools that are older, regardless of outside of this situation. It is not uncommon for us to go to a school anywhere in the United States and find some kind of lead in one of the faucets because they have water fountains, and they're supposed to be testing for those things at schools already. But we're happy to work with IEPA, the health department, and others to compare information and look at that, make sure they're all clear. But that is a health department issue that we're going to have to coordinate more closely on.
Okay. I'll give you a card. Thank you.
My name is Shantae Scales Franklin, and I have 4 minor children. I got them tested for lead this past Thursday. And what if the results come back positive? Is there a treatment for lead poisoning? Or, if they do have lead poisoning, is there signs that I look for in them, or
And do you have the numbers that came back?
No, I don't have the results yet. I have to wait 4 to 5 days. I just got it done this past Thursday at our personal doctor's office.
So when they're very high, there are interventional studies or interventions that can happen where they can give children chelation therapy, basically to suck that out. It's very uncommon that one would need to go to that level. But those are, we're talking about blood lead concentrations that are up like 40 micrograms per deciliter. The background in the U.S. is something around 1. And you know, the action or the reference reference level that the Centers for Disease Control said is 5. So when we think about somebody that might be positive for lead, that means that they have greater than 5 micrograms per deciliter in their blood. But it's a weird number. It's not necessarily they're saying that's good or bad. The way that's said is that they've looked at the entire population of the U.S. and they say 97.5% of them are lower than that number. So it's just an indicator that you're on the high side, very high side of the sort of the populations. And that's the measure where they can say something maybe we need to do here, maybe to look and see if there's an exposure happening.
Okay, but what is that like if they are positive, is that a medication, like something they have to take? Or?
No, in that intervention is at really at extreme levels, and I wouldn't envision that there's a chance that anybody could have gotten lead in this community that would have triggered to that level.
Even though how long they've been consuming it from the time?
In my opinion, no, that this is not a situation where we're going to get that. Although we will find out. I would love to see the results there, and perhaps we can talk offline here to give you some information to help you characterize what those are. But really, we're going to find we're going to get that information. We're going to get blood lead from the community and see how that comes out. My experience in other communities have had upsets and had periodic increases in their service supply, have not shown that the population actually shows blood leads that are that high. They have shown that they've gone up, and we will be able to detect it, but we haven't seen them up high to the levels where any medical intervention is necessary.
Okay.
And may I ask you another question? Did you have this done at your doctor's office?
Yes.
So, and I would coordinate with him or her to figure, so that you know what to expect when those results come back and how to characterize them. And I would be happy to talk with you more about what those results mean and put them in reference for you.
Okay, because one of my little guys developed a skin rash. I was told it could be a heat rash, but when I addressed it with his personal doctor and told her about the lead situation, she said who knows, it could have been from that. Is there like a side effect from
It's not
lead?
a side effect from lead. There is some ancillary information where others have said, hey, the water is bad, it could cause these skin issues, but there's differences in the water there. The water that's being served by Aqua here, to my understanding, does have corrosion protection into it, and it is in a chemistry that would not anticipate to have any sort of effects for things like skin. Really the issue on the water that's supplied here is that point of use, the faucets, the pipes, leaching lead that may have come in and enhanced the lead concentrations.
Right, but I don't know how long we've been consuming this water. What about behavior issues? Is that a issue? I mean, my kids don't have behavior issues.
And children that have these low levels of lead exposure in their blood, like between 5 and 10, don't present with any symptomology. And that's why the testing is really, that's the way that you can catch them. You have to look at it from testing.
5 to 10, the age? 5 to 10?
No, I'm sorry, 5 micrograms per deciliter to 10 micrograms per deciliter. There's not a way of looking at somebody and showing, hey, maybe you've gotten exposed to lead because of these kinds of actions. You just can't do that. There's no outward expression of those low blood lead levels. Now, I say low, they're higher than than the reference level, but they're still not in a level where we'd have any kind of significant health effects.
Okay, but what if they do test positive for lead, you all are paying for lead testing. What about the treatment? Are you paying for the lead treatment? if anyone is
I think
poisoned by this?
the biggest thing that I saw that Aqua has made here is that they would also do a home lead evaluation to identify other potential sources. And that everybody should take advantage of that because those other kinds of sources that are in your home are end up being very significant in lots of cases to the overall exposure. I would certainly take advantage of that. I'm interested to talk with you more about your specific lead testing you've got and those, and perhaps we can do that offline. So I don't want to violate any confidences.
I don't have the results yet, but
okay,
that'll be soon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, for the record.
Pastor Brenda Mitchell. I have a concern based on the information that was shared with the newspaper, and then as being a former trustee, just some questions in terms of processes and the implementation of the new system. So in August, you received information that there was lead in the older homes in this community. Aqua is not new to this community, and you know the issues that have impacted the residents in this community, those that have been dealt with prior boards in relationship to the pipes and the plumbing and the clogging and being able to detect problems within our systems. And so if we transition something of this magnitude, and yet based on the article presented by Channel 7, that there were no testings from August up until May, even though you transition a major system within our community, that there were no timelines to test for outcomes or performance within the system, which means a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day to make sure that the system is doing what you said to us that it would do. We wouldn't need water softeners. We would not have to buy bottled water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That did not happen. And my question is to that is to why, because there should have been more oversight on the front end in transitioning this. And for you to indicate that that did not happen is troublesome to me. And I would not want you to go into another community and think that this is okay, because it's not. And then in your comment in there, you said that the people deserve better. You're absolutely right. We deserve better. We're paying top dollar in this new transition. And ever since it's been in place, we've been on boil orders, we have had incidents. Now we can't ingest the water, but we're paying top dollar for less service, and that's just not acceptable. And I really tried not to come and stand up here and say anything today, but that's not like me. So I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to say I'm okay with this, because I'm not okay with this, because this impacts the livelihood of the residents of University Park who have suffered with bad water all along, which makes the well water not look so bad at this point. But here we are with a new system that's supposed to accomplish everything that everybody said that it was supposed to do, and it has not done that. I have complained since the transition that this is a problem. Every time you look around, we've got to boil water in University Park, more water than we boiled in the 40 years that I've been out here. So maybe more than 40 years, but whatever the case may be, this is just not acceptable. And the fact that you didn't put anything in place by your own admission from August up until May, when you left us at risk without follow through. I've been on an executive team with the hospital, and you guys know, if there's an issue with plumbing in the hospital, I have had to put the hospital on bypass and reroute patients someplace else and set up an incident command center. That should have been something that should have been even in your processes. What is your plan B in case it doesn't work? What is the emergency plan for this, if this happens like this again, so that we do not end up here asking questions that should have been answered on the front end of this transition and throughout? There should have been more oversight. And the question is, why didn't you test during that time frame? And you said you didn't.
Yeah.
But you do have to say, an apology is fine, but take ownership, make this thing right by all means necessary. It should not come off the backs of the taxpayers or the residents of University Park. You should have done your homework on the front end and monitored it so that we would not be at this point. And so the question becomes now, we want real legitimate solutions, an oversight committee to monitor what's moving forward in the future.
Please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name's Andrea Johnson.
Can't hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So my question really does also have to do with the woman who just came before me. Could you please release the schedule that you're going to, this new proactive measure, what that schedule of retesting is going to be? Because again, it's really concerning that you didn't do a 30, 60, or a 90-day retest. And also, could you also release the consultants that gave you the advice to put the chemical that did corrode our water? If you could release that information to us.
Let's start with the testing. There's a couple types of testing you're going to see in the community, so I don't want people to get confused.
Okay.
There's the testing that we do at roughly 40 locations in the community that is for IEPA and EPA, which is the compliance testing that you see to determine if things are good. We actually retested those 40 homes Thursday. It'll take a couple days for all the results to come in to see, and since it's only been a week, not even a week, we're not sure if everybody has gotten that new coating of chemical in. And so we're going to be testing those 40 homes if they allow us to every week so that we can see if those levels are going down and if the coating is starting to take effect.
And will those results be posted somewhere so we can view?
We're happy to work and post them and share them because
Perfect.
we just have to be careful that we don't name specific addresses.
Perfect.
For privacy reasons.
Okay, but like you provided those graphs, those charts,
Yes.
yeah, that would be perfect.
No problem. And one of the other things that we're working to do is we're working with customers to get their samples collected at their homes. And we'll be looking at that information as well. And we're hoping that, that's going to be going continuously. So between the weekly samples and the customer samples, we're hoping, as long as the labs aren't too overwhelmed and back up, that we should be able to get results to allow us to see a trend to see that this is working. And we also took another piece of testing that I mentioned earlier is we took a piece of pipe, thanks to a wonderful member in the community, allowed us to cut a piece of pipe out of their house and replace it. And we took that and sent it to an expert who is doing special testing with the current new chemical we're adding. And he's going to help us understand how fast that will work as well. So we're doing 3 different layers of testing and experiments, and and that's all going to be shared with IEPA and EPA. And the results obviously are going to be shared with the mayor and the city and the town here. So we want to make sure that you see everything that they see and that you can ask EPA if this is good or bad.
Okay, and also in the spirit of transparency, again, I believe the gentleman in the purple shirt also had this concern that we have the same exact homes in University Park as the homes that were previously cleared. Is there any way that we can get a map to show the cleared houses versus the houses that are on the do not consume? So we can kind of see like, well, my house was built in 1975 and so was this one. So I'm really, it kind of isn't jiving to me.
Okay, so that's a great point, and it's something we're working on, and we have to work with IEPA and the health department on. So within the affected area here, there are quite a few homes that are post-1990 that we can see. We would like to come up with a process to make sure that we can release them if they're safe from the do not consume, but also so that you have confidence that they truly are safe. We don't want to just lift them without that proof. We have to work through that process. And we're going to be trying to work on a map that will make it easier. A good example is a couple of apartment complexes we visited, just like I mentioned with the other place. We went into a couple, and one nearby here replaced all the plumbing in 2000, and all they had was compression fittings. There was no lead solder anywhere. We collected 2 samples, one at the bottom and one at another elevation in the property, another apartment in the property. They came back clear, so we felt pretty safe there. We would like to work on that process with our partners so that we can start doing that and make it clear to you. But it is confusing if you get a lift, right, and the neighbor behind you says, well, I can't. But the difficulty is going to be with the pre-1986 homes and working out what those criteria are to make sure someone's safe, because we don't want to tell you it's safe and it's not.
Do you know when you could give us a timeline for when you could get us a map of that nature?
We're working on trying to provide something next week for residents. Again,
Okay, so next
we
week.
need to have some conversations with the regulators.
There's people over here that can help.
Yeah, why don't you, I'm sorry.
So, within the do not consume area we have right now, we have to work with IEPA and US EPA to create a criteria. But we have customer service folks over here that do have a list of those that are in the unaffected area or those that are still in the do not consume area. And if you go over there, they can tell you if you are or you're not.
Okay, and then this was a question from someone else, it wasn't mine, but when it comes to lead testing, it's real. Thank you so much for comping those fees for that, but is it possible for you to bring in a clinic to test blood here to make it a little bit more convenient for residents?
Well, we're working through that. I think we have to talk to the folks over here, because we're trying to do everything we can to make it as convenient as possible, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think we're going to get like a code where you can go on your convenience to do it whenever you want. So rather than me kind of bumble through that, maybe I have to direct you to the folks over here that have been working very closely with the labs.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. State your name for the record, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sherilyn Williams, and I'm a fairly new resident of University Park. I just recently bought my home in September of last year, and I'm in true regret of being a resident of University Park. I bought my home because I thought that it was a beautiful home. The cul-de-sac where I live is very beautiful. The sellers of the home, one selling point for me was when she mentioned that they're no longer on the system, the water system, the softener that she had, and that they get like this great water. So I purchased that home based off that, but yet I stand here before everyone in deep regret that I made a decision to invest here. I want to say around October and November, crews came and dug around my fire hydrant on my property and placed a covering over the fire hydrant, saying that it was out of service without any mention to me or my husband about why or what the problem was or what course of action they were planning to take. They did not give me a time frame for service. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out what happens if there's a fire on the block. The fire hydrant is not working. It's out of service. It's the summertime and no one has given us any, I don't know what's going on. I'm just confused, I'm discombobulated. And as it relates to paying these water bills every month, they're very high. I haven't been here for 45 years, but I do know that I consume a high water bill every month. And unfortunately, I will not pay another dime until this problem is fixed. That's one thing, but I do have
Ma'am, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
How long, can you tell me how long that fire hydrant's been like that?
For a long time. It actually happened, I bought the house in September, they came out October and did that, and they said that they will keep us posted. Never heard anything. Winter time came, and of course, it was winter, right? We didn't hear anything, still haven't heard anything. Lately, since we got the notification starting Friday, we had Aqua come by a million times, people showing up on the property trying to cover up the hole that they dug with soil, ruined our landscaping, everything. And all of these things are happening when I'm not home.
Can you stop by and see me when we're done and give me your address? I want to ensure that gets taken care of.
Sure.
I want to understand and dig into that.
Sure. Okay, a couple of more questions. How long is your contract with Aqua to provide water services for the village of University Park?
There isn't a contract. Aqua owns the water system here.
They own it.
Correct.
Forever.
Correct.
Okay. What is your relationship with the EPA?
The EPA is our regulator.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling so discombobulated standing here before you guys today because I feel like the sellers of the house lied to me. I feel like you guys are lying to me. Like, I seriously don't know who to trust. I went out and I took testing for lead with my doctor already. And I really don't plan to take another lead testing. I'm waiting on results. So for people that's not willing to do that, again, waiting on your laboratories, if I'm not trusting you right now, I'm definitely not going to trust people that you send in to test me for lead. So how will you work or be willing to work with the folks like me who I'm comfortable with my own doctor and the results that comes back from the testing that I have taken with my own doctor and not doctors that you have appointed?
Yeah, it's an independent lab. It's not an aqua lab. They're just doing the testing, and we're just paying the bill. If you'd like to work, maybe Dr. Tolson be willing, once you get your results, to talk with you about it. But if folks want us to pay for it, we really need to go through the lab that we've provided, as well as work with you to get the testing done in your homes. We want to make sure that you're getting that part of it too.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, I don't know if this is a question for Aqua or for the village or the mayor or Public Works, I'm not sure. But another reason why I purchased the home that I purchased is because the beautiful man-made pond in my area, the water. I want to know who serviced that pond. Can anybody answer that?
It's not Aqua.
The village manager can answer that question.
First, thank you for your question. Village is responsible for that, and that pond will be serviced next week.
Next week?
It's scheduled to be serviced next week. Correct, Director?
Perfect, thank you. That was another main reason why I purchased my property. Thanks a lot.
Your name for the record?
My name is Elbert Shaw. I live at 729 Wright Road, one of the newer subdivisions in University Park, and I am under the do not consume order. I'd like to know whether the polyphosphate that you were originally using has any history of causing lead to leach from the existing piping.
At this point, we've been asking experts, and they're not aware of it. However, we're going to continue to investigate this and see if there was any information anywhere about that, but we haven't seen that in our operations where we've used polyphosphate.
I would like to get an emphatic answer, if I may. When you discover whether that is so, I'd like to know, because apparently if you didn't know, that changes the dynamic. But if there's been any history at all that chemical causes the release of lead into the water system, we need to know it.
Okay, and we haven't seen that where we added that chemical in our operations in other locations, but we're investigating it.
Okay, I want the village board to hear this. I work for the Village of University Park. I served this community for almost 20 years in economic development and 6 years as a village manager. To my knowledge, the water system that delivers water to your laterals, to the laterals in our houses, a lot of it is galvanized iron. Is that correct?
In conversations with our crews that have worked in the street, we have not seen any galvanized. You're talking about the pipe from the street to your house? Or the pipes in the street?
I'm not talking about the laterals. The language is very specific. I know you understand the language. I'm talking about your delivery system, that piping.
No, it's typically either iron or ductile iron or cast iron.
Is it possible that there is lead in the material that is used to manufacture this piping?
What we've done is we have tested our distribution system at the hydrants for lead to confirm. I'm answering the question with real data that, in other words, instead of speculating, if there was lead 50 years ago put in the cast iron pipe, which we wouldn't know, but we've never heard of that. What we do know from science and from testing this week, we've tested water from the hydrants that are fed by those pipes. There is no lead detected in that system. Our experts feel very strongly that it is not a source, and our independent testing has shown that it is not coming from the pipes in the street.
Okay, for the Board of Trustees, I see on your agenda you have the possibility of litigation in this matter. We are looking at a failure of monumental proportion from the U.S. EPA, the Illinois EPA, and Aqua. I don't expect a private company to engage in any compliance that it's not forced to do. Power concedes nothing without demand. But if the U.S. EPA and the Illinois EPA and Aqua think that 90% compliance on water quality is an acceptable standard, what happens to the 10% of undeserved individuals who are affected by that standard? When I was village manager, Carlton Lowell was the village attorney for the Village of University Park. He had worked for the FTC before he came to work for University Park. Carlton busted Ford because they decided that it was acceptable to move the gas tank on the Ford Pinto. Do you remember that car? It was subjected to explosion after explosion from rear collisions. Do you know why they got busted? Because they had a memo that said that the number of deaths caused by them moving the gas tank so that it would support more groceries or two bags of golf clubs was an acceptable loss. They said it was okay to do that no matter how many deaths it caused. So don't expect private industry to be compassionate in this issue. I applaud your statements, but it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Let me address the part of the comment, and thank you for your comments, sir, and thank you everyone for your comments. The board has suspended the rules so that, for transparency, so that everyone can get a chance to be heard and actually go past the 3 minutes, and I thank them for that. But yes, sir, the concept is that, I don't generally speak about what we would do in litigation in public meetings, but the board, if they approve that, make that motion, then they would authorize us to work with the board, the village manager, to look at all possible avenues that are going to be in the best interest of the citizens. So I can't say that for sure there's litigation or that there will or will not be litigation, but they would authorize us to work with the village manager and the board and look at and advise them of all of the possible ramifications.
Next person, please step up. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Ayana Hudson, and mine is more of a health-related question. My son has special needs, and he has neurological delays already. So how much consumption of lead is okay?
And I'm sorry, Ms. Hudson, I didn't understand. Your son has?
He has developmental delays already. He has special needs and a low IQ. How much consumption of lead is okay?
We don't want to have any consumption of lead. The goal is zero. EPA's position is that no dose is safe. The epidemiological data, the data when we look at studies of IQ related to lead, suggests that when you get lead that's in slightly higher concentrations, and we're talking slightly higher than 15, the sort of the standard, that there is a good association with long-term exposure and some of those neurodevelopmental delays. When you get down below below that level, then the data becomes a little bit more questionable, but the current thinking is that no dose is what we want to get to. The other part of this, though, is it has to do with how long the exposure happened. So those neurodevelopmental delays that might occur are that we understand from the literature are from individuals who have been exposed over a long period of time, from in utero up to about 6 years is kind of the critical time point for development. Your question had to do with how much of exposure, and there's not an answer. My answer to that is sort of a public health professional, is we want to get to zero. That's what we want to have, and that's the goal. And I've communicated that with Aqua, that should be their goal, and I've understood from them that is their goal, is to get as low as possible in this water system.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Please state your name, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Connors. I live over on Regent Road. I've been out here since 2007. And I, too, like the gentleman here, live in one of the newer developments. And my question is the fact that why would I be on the do not consume list and my house is barely 10 years old? And I'm wondering how that filtration got in my area if I'm in a newer development.
Okay, so you asked a good question that we're actually working on with IEPA and others on. We've tested Regent Road. We know that there are post-1990 houses. We have not detected any lead at the houses at Regent Road. However, because of the do not consume for a larger area, we have to work through a process to be able to release your street. And we have to make sure that we can confirm exactly which homes are post-1990 and which aren't, because as you go behind you on Landau, I believe it is, the road behind you.
Right.
Those houses are pre-1986, some of them, and they may have lead copper. So we don't want to confuse people where you get lifted and the guy behind you says, well...
So are we being fed up the same line?
The lead is not in the water in the street. The lead is not in the water coming into your house. The lead is from the interaction of the water and the lead solder in your house, because of the prior treatment we made removed the barrier between them. So it's really about the source of the lead, which is inside the home, and the removal of that barrier between them. That's why we're adding the new chemical to create the barrier. So yes, your house probably has no lead. Yes, your house probably is not going to test positive for lead. We just need to get through the permissions to be able to lift those types of homes, and we're working. There's about 200 homes that we've identified that we would like to be able to do that with.
Okay, I disagree with what you're saying, because I do have a testing kit, and when we tested our water, we had high levels. Now, when we tested the bottled water, we received 0 readings. We tested our water out the faucet, and it was at a high level. We tested our water out of the refrigerator, which is filtered, and it was higher. So I'm not hearing what you're telling me, that I probably don't have lead in my water when I know I do.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what test method you used.
The one that you provide. The picture that you gave me there, and then the tester that comes with it.
That does not measure lead.
Well, why did you give it to me?
That is provided by the manufacturer, and it's a indicator of when you need to change the filter. It is not a measurement of lead, and I apologize for the confusion on that.
Well, this is what we were told, that this was a tester, okay?
It just tests to see if the filter needs change, not if there's lead. I apologize for that confusion. We'll make sure we get that clarified.
We need to have some clarity, because, see, we're being led round and round and round, and what we're hearing is pretty much the same thing that we've been hearing for the longest. Now, my question also, too, is regarded to what is your method of selecting homes for testing?
So there's multiple types of testing occurring.
I want to know what is the method you use to choose the homes, not your testing.
Okay, the method that we choose to select the homes is based on the requirements the EPA sets, where we try to identify about 40 homes that have lead solder that were built pre-1986. It's called a Tier 1 group. It's an EPA group. That's how we're supposed to identify the homes we're testing. They are supposed to be the worst case. That is the 40 homes that we're testing every week. Plus, anybody that wants testing, we offer bottles to pick up, or we'll deliver them, and we will have them sent to a third-party laboratory and analyzed for lead as well. So there's multiple layers of that happening.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then, if I'm correct, that the newer homes, we're not going to be tested, but you're going to be testing the older homes that are 40 years and older.
There are a couple newer homes that are tested. And
you didn't say that.
We'll test any home. We'll test any home.
Okay. My other question, real quick, is regarding there's an area that I've been told that has a group home, and there's like 16 to 20 people in these group homes, and they're only been given like 2 cases of water. What is the answer for that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can provide us with the name of the place and we can get that done. Yeah, we'll have our folks back there. I'm sure Melissa can hear this. She'll have her crew go out and send them more water.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if folks want more water, they just have to call the call center, stop in here and request more water, and we'll bring them more water. So if somebody's like running that and they're managing it, let us know and we can work directly with them.
Thank you, sir. Miss, give him a chance.
Please stop over here, and I'll even give you my business card when I leave, make sure you get that water.
Come on, for the record, sir, your name.
My name is Darnell Payne. I've got 2 questions, a statement for the record, and an observation. I've been listening intently. My first question is that I've been listening intently, and I may have missed it, but I don't remember hearing when exactly was the chemical formulation of the water changed.
So we started adding this chemical to remove the iron and the rust inside the pipes in 2017, in like July of 2017, 6 months prior to changing over the new source. In August of 2018, we received some samples with an elevated level of the lead. Although it was within the IEPA limits, it was elevated. We went back to our industry consultants, our water experts, and we showed them the data, and they asked us to adjust the chemical, not eliminate it or remove it, but to make it adjust the chemical feed. And we did that, and that would have been in August of 2018 or thereabouts. We could find the date. I don't know the date off the top of my head. Does that answer the question?
Sure.
Okay.
Statement of record. I have a son who also has special needs, and every year he's tested at least 4 times a year. His blood is tested, albeit it is not tested for lead. It is tested for calcium levels. In March of this year, we received an urgent phone call from our doctor who was alarmed at his low calcium rate. For those of you who actually own the water system and take pride in it, consider yourself duly notified. The observation that I have, earlier today, a representative from Aqua, female, indicated that because, my observation. Earlier today, the graphic indicated that based on how the water is delivered from Aqua to our individual homes, it appears that Aqua actually needs us to run our pipes, to flush our pipes, is the term you use, simply to distribute the reformulated water in order to replace that protective film. Is that correct?
It just expedites it. It expedites the treatment process. So it will happen regardless.
So if we don't turn our water on, if we boycott Aqua and say we're not turning our water on, our pipes won't be treated. Is that
not in your home? Not in your home, it won't.
Okay. I lost my, hold on a second. Okay. And my final question. Earlier in the meeting, the female Aqua representative that I just referenced indicated that we would receive free service for the month of June due to the inconvenience of receiving what I call contaminated water, semantics. The question I have is, understanding that you don't know, you've admitted you don't know exactly when it started, you've admitted that the water was reformulated back in 2017, and being that Aqua has at best a contentious relationship with University Park, are you in a position to refund us money all the way back to 2017 for contaminated water? Thank you.
Thank you. This will be our last question. Your name for the record, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Response. I'm sorry.
Yeah, until we can determine in more accuracy how long this may be occurring and to what extent and what impact it may have had, I'm not prepared to be able to answer that question.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Jackson. I'm a University Park resident since 1992. I've had frequent no-boil orders since you implemented the new pipeline. I have complained. I've talked to Ms. Cajon. I've talked to my village manager. Substandard service. Anyway, as a medical professional, when you found out that the village had been exposed, did you consider the pregnant women, the infants, the children, and the elderly? And why was it such a big timeline before notification?
Well, we notified folks immediately. We found out on Thursday, went back and told the lab to rerun them to ensure because of the levels. So we want to make sure before we put the entire system on a do not consume, we wanted to have them double check. And as soon as we found out, we organized the campaign, and by Friday we had the information out and alerted everyone.
Okay. The water delivery, it started the 14th, I believe, that Friday?
It started on Friday.
I didn't even know about it. I'm on that alert system. Doesn't work. They don't alert me. I'm on the email. I'm on the text message. I see water delivered to vacant homes in the area. Don't you know who pays the water bill?
And we're just trying to get water out to as many people as we can, as fast as we can.
But these are clearly uninhabited homes. And I see bottles of water there. When I called the other day to get some water, one of your representatives told me to go out and get my own water.
Well, if you happen to know that person's name, I'll be happy to address that, because no one should be telling anyone to go get their own water at this point. No one.
With deep respect, Mr. Blanchard, your call center is a joke. There's an 8 to 10 minute waiting period. Then they put you on hold for 30 minutes. So if you're not going to get a lot of response from that lead testing, that's going to be the reason why. Who wants to be on the phone? We don't have anything else to do.
Well, we have this open to July 1st. You can come up and see a person right here in this information center. And if you stop and see me before I go, I'll give you my card. And if there's a problem moving forward, I'll have you call me directly.
And I'd like to know when that water whole house flush will go into effect.
You can do that anytime.
And after the blood testing is done for the lead, how much of a follow-up? Because these levels can affect women, children, elderly. There's people on dialysis for years and years to come. So how are you going to compensate them for that?
Well, I'll be honest, we just brought our toxicologist on yesterday. We're still trying to get our arms around what the impacts may be, and that's why we brought him here today, to help us identify. And that's why we're so adamant about getting the testing done. And the testing not just for your blood, but also for your house, so we can address.
My next question, where's the Illinois Department of Public Health? Where's the Will County Department of Public Health? I appreciate the experts, but do you consider this just a water alert or a public health issue?
We have been working and have been in contact with both the Will County Health Department and the State Health Department.
But I don't see them represented here. This is public health.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Item D, and I thank all the residents for voicing their concerns, and I hope your questions were answered. And if you have other questions, please continue to see Aqua after we finish our meeting. Item D, first, second, and third reading, an ordinance of the Village of University Park, Will and Cook Counties, Illinois, approving and authorizing an emergency declaration relating to the University Park water supply. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Brooks, second by Trustee Williams and Trustee Franklin. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Question, Mayor. Quick
question. Yes.
Be recognized. I just wanted to just make sure that I didn't get a chance to really look at it. If the attorney can just look at page 2, because Mayor, I know you had been on this since the 14th. Would that be, I know we got, that would be 7th day. Would it be on page 3?
We're on the 7th day, right?
Page 3. If we could just flip to page 3, I just want to check the date.
What paragraph?
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. Page 4, section 2, would that be June 14th? If we can just read that line. Would that be
yeah, so-
14th? Should we put it to 14th or with the 15th?
Was it
14th, am I correct? Right, if we can, so would I can make a motion to just change that to 14th,
No,
right?
15th is fine.
15th is fine.
The 15th is...
15th is fine?
15th is correct.
Okay, based upon the statute that I was reading before that, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It is a 7-day period.
Correct,
but
that's
I
what-
wasn't- Yeah, so the period is 7 days that it has to be authorized by the board. I wasn't sure if it was done. I thought it was done on the 15th.
It was done on the 15th.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Williams.
Both sides.
Trustee Brooks.
Both sides.
Trustee Bell.
Both sides.
Trustee Franklin.
Both sides.
Trustee Bolden.
Aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Both sides.
And Mayor Rudis.
Votes aye.
Mr. Mayor, that's ordinance 2019-18.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Board. D2, motion authorizing the village manager to work with and direct the village attorney to take appropriate legal action with respect to the current emergency situation, including but not limited to pursuing the necessary litigation. Is Trustee, motion by Trustee Brooks, second by Trustee Williams. Questions? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Trustee Williams.
Both sides.
Trustee Brooks.
Both sides.
Trustee Bell.
Both sides.
Trustee Franklin.
Both sides.
Trustee Bolden.
Aye.
Trustee McMullen.
Both sides.
And Mayor Rudis.
Votes aye. Thank you, Madam Clerk, Board of Trustees. Is there a motion, Trustee Brooks?
So move to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.